Chapter 1929. The great Peng is with the wind, the weak water is unbreakable. How terrifying! Yelu Han's eyes flickered as he watched the great golden-winged rocks flying across the Ruo Shui Bone River. Rumble! At the same time, figures soared into the sky one after another behind the golden-winged rock. They separated in the void, and their auras were invisibly connected. These were the 18 celestial guards. Their figures were scattered, but they were secretly connected. They formed hand seals and gathered their auras. Roar! At the same time, the roars of beasts resounded like thunder. The 18 celestial guards shone brightly. Runes flickered and illuminated the sky. In an instant, they turned into the golden-winged Great Peng, Shenyun Scarlet Flood Dragon, Ancient Celestial Fox, Primordial Huodou, Primordial Soaring Serpent, Swan Ni, Xie, and many other terrifying beasts. The 18 strange beast phantoms occupied the void and roared ferociously. Led by the golden-winged rock phantoms that enveloped Yi Piaoling, they covered the sky and appeared in the sky as if they were blotting out the sun. Rumble, supreme power appeared on Yi Piaoling's body, causing heavenly music and a halo of divine fire to appear in the sky. This scene caused the surrounding people to gasp. The World Society's 18 heavenly guards were so terrifying. Go! The 18 celestial guards circled in the void and led the remaining Huang Nation and Wei family disciples to cross the weak water Bone River. Go! Sacred Array Child Jin Qingchun threw out a small pagoda in his hand. In an instant, a murderous aura filled the sky. It became several zhang tall and flew into the sky, controlling the pagoda. Rumble! With the sound of heavenly music, Du Shaojing flew into the sky from the legalism formation. 10 divine rings appeared in the sky, enveloping the legalism disciples as they crossed the weak water Bone River. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Almost at the same time, Kong Sansi, Su Yangzi, Hui Yuan, Henglun, Lian Qingrong, and many other supreme beings activated their supreme being powers. The heavenly sound shook the heavens, and the machines carried the people around them across the Ruo Shui Bone River. Amitba! In the Buddhist sect, besides Henglun, an old monk threw out a string of Buddhist beads. It was a mysterious sacred artifact. It transformed into a Buddha, and the sound of Sanskrit was faint. It was as if it was delivering the salvation of all living creatures as they crossed the weak water Bone River. Dragons! Dragons! Dragon's might swept dragon's might. Dragon's disciples crossed the weak water Bone River. Dragons, dragons. Dragons, dragon. Dragons, dragons, dragon, 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 dragon. Dragons, dragons. Dragon, dragon. The Dragon Nation dragon cross dragon is dragon. That's the blood of a true dragon. A true dragon soars into the clouds, untouchable by weak waters. Yelu Han raised his eyebrows. Weak river, crossing weak water weak dragon above the void. Seeing that the various major forces were fighting to cross, there were also various forces activating their secret techniques and setting up great formations to cross. Some experts. Were they? Creatures, some god beings. Great beings as creatures. In an instant, the competition erupted once more. Numerous figures soared through the sky while various secret techniques, formations, treasures, and mysterious techniques were revealed. Symbols, light spirits bright. The weak water Bone River whistled, and huge waves appeared. Some people were on the verge of collapsing. Their formations were about to break, but in the end, they were drowned by the weak water Bone River and turned into white bones. Some Supreme's treasures were annihilated. Their bodies fell, unable to escape the weak water Bone River. But there were also some who managed to cross the river and reach the shore. 3,000 weak water Bone River, all living creatures sink. Supremes with extraordinary physiques can cross the weak water Bone River. Dugu Fenshin waved his sleeve. 6 divine rings appeared in the sky, wrapped in supreme power. He turned around and rolled his eyes at Du Xiaofu. Then, he crossed the weak water Bone River and left. Yelu Han looked at Du Xiaofu beside him, and his eyes rolled. I'll take my leave first. Yelu Han's divine rings appeared in the sky. He also activated his supreme power and left with Du Gufenshin. "Hey, you two, bring me along," Du Xiaofu shouted behind them. However, Du Fenshin and Yelu Han ignored Du Xiaofu, as if they had discussed this beforehand. These two bastards. Du Xiaofu could see that although the weak waterbone river was terrifying, there were methods and secret techniques to cross it. However, the consumption was huge. The most special one was the Supremes. As Supremes, they couldn't cross the weak waterbone river. Du Gufenshin and Yelu Han left. Du Xiaofu knew that these two fellows did it on purpose. They wanted to see if he was also a supreme being. However, if he exposed his supreme power, his identity would be exposed. The golden-winged great prung bird could cross the weak waterbone river, but his identity would be exposed soon. Du Xiaofu smiled wryly. However, he was less worried about Dongli Qingqing. Dongli Qingqing was also a supremes. If she entered the Heavenly Yu Mountain ahead of time, she would be able to cross the weak waterbone river. Yelu Han and Du Gufenshin landed on a rock and turned their heads to look at Du Xiaofu on the other side of the river. With their cultivation bases, they could clearly see Du Xiaofu hovering in the air from 10,000 feet away. Their eyes were fixed on Du Xiaofu. They didn't bring Du Xiaofu to cross the weak waterbone river because they wanted to see if Du Xiaofu's true identity was also a supremes. At this moment, there were many people who had the same thought as Yelu Han and Du Gufenshin. There were many people who were staring at Du Xiaofu on the other side of the river. Everyone could see that the mysterious purple-haired man didn't use his full strength against Han Ke Fong. His strength was unfathomable. Now that he wanted to cross the weak waterbone river, they didn't know what kind of method he would use. Miserable shrieks and howls continued to resound. There were living beings who tried to cross the weak waterbone river. It's somewhat familiar. Du Xiaofu looked at the Ruo Shui Bone River that was surging with huge waves. His expression was a little different. He felt that the waves of the Ruo Shui Bone River were somewhat familiar. Is it really related? Let's give it a try. Slightly gritting his teeth, Du Xiaofu decided to give it a try. If it really didn't work, he would have no choice but to reveal some of his identity. Du Xiaofu soared into the sky. His figure flashed, like a falling leaf in the breeze, gently landing on the weak waterbone river. Under many attentive gazes, Du Xiaofu stepped on the Ruo Shui, his figure drifting unpredictably and unpredictably. Amidst the surging waves of the Ruo Shui and the white bones, he traversed like a deity. The weak waterbone river was rolling, but it seemed to be deliberately carried under Du Xiaofu's feet, allowing his figure to float past. With a light tap of his feet, Du Xiaofu was like a swift swallow crossing the river. The weak water that could annihilate all living things was capable of devouring everything. However, for some unknown reason, it did not affect Du Xiaofu at all. It was just like an ordinary river water, allowing him to remain safe and sound, while his spirit was refreshed. Many people were dumbfounded. Even Du Gufenshin and Yelu Han were dumbfounded. They originally wanted to test if that guy's true identity was also a supreme being. Who would have thought that he could cross the weak waterbone river so easily? It seemed like he was crossing the river lightly, but the shock it caused was even more shocking than when all the supreme beings fought to cross the river. The more unfathomable it was, the more shocking it was. Chapter 1930. However, at this moment, no one knew that Du Xiaofu was also astonished. Even Du Xiaofu didn't expect that he would be able to cross the weak water as if nothing existed when he used the wavy carefree steps. Du Xiaofu felt a sense of familiarity from the ripples on the weak waterbone river. It contained a mysterious mystery. Observing carefully, Du Xiaofu faintly felt that the ripples seemed to be the same as Dongli Qingqing's wavy carefree steps. At first, Du Xiaofu wasn't sure, but the more he observed, the more he felt that there was a great connection between the two. Therefore, Du Xiaofu took the risk and tried it. He didn't expect that it would be so. Crossing the river with the wavy carefree steps was actually not affected by the weak water. The wavy carefree steps was not too obvious, and Du Xiaofu was also using it in an extremely secretive manner, afraid that someone would discover his identity. Du Xiaofu's figure was like a piece of duckweed as he lightly landed beside Du Gufenshin and Yelu Han. After calmly landing, Du Xiaofu calmly glanced at Dugufengchen and Yelu Han. His eyes carried a kind of light ridicule as he said, "Is a supreme being so amazing? It's just crossing a river, what's the point of making such a big commotion?" As his voice fell, Du Xiaofu ignored the shocked gazes around him and looked forward. Not far ahead, many gazes were filled with shock. The continuous cliffs and tall mountains blocking the way were like a natural moat in front of everyone. The mountains were 10,000 zhang tall, and they couldn't see the peak even if they raised their heads. Facing the natural moat-like cliffs and tall mountains, even the gigantic golden-winged great peng and giant dragon seemed incomparably small. All the creatures looked at the towering cliffs and tall mountains before them, and all of them felt incomparably small. Even the top experts of the various large factions secretly sucked in a breath of cold air at this moment, only regaining their senses after a while. What kind of place is this? Du Xiaofu's heart trembled, and his face was filled with shock. What kind of existence was this heavenly Yu mountain? It was so shocking. All of the creatures were waiting. After the lesson of the Ruo Shui Bone River, no one was stupid enough to want to be the leader. Whoosh whoosh, however, someone moved. After pausing for a moment, Du Xiaojing from legalism had already soared into the air and climbed over the precipice. Behind him were the disciples of legalism. Rumble. Suddenly, the sound of thunder came from above the precipice. Streaks of dazzling white electric arcs poured down like waterfalls from the deep sky. They condensed into dazzling and destructive thunderbolts that rushed towards Du Xiaojing and the others. Zilala, winds and clouds surged and the sky changed color. A destructive aura reverberated through the area, causing the expressions of the strongest experts present to change, and their hairs to stand on end. Du Xiaojing was fearless. Her beautiful figure soared into the sky, and her body was covered by purple talisman runes. A purple thunderbolt suddenly spread out from her graceful body, covering the legalism disciples. The terrifying destructive thunderbolt fell on the purple thunderbolt around Du Xiaojing's body. It was like water falling on the surface of a lake, causing ripples, but then it disappeared. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, Du Xiaojing protected the legalism disciples and directly climbed to the top. So this is the Thunder Mountain? It's just ordinary. Du Xiaofu spoke, and with a shake of his long sleeve, he ignored Dugufengchen and Yelu Han beside him and soared into the sky, directly climbing up the mountain. Rumble. Above the precipice, the torrential electric arcs seemed to have been stimulated, and suddenly, the sound of thunder rumbled incessantly. The thunderbolts converged and rushed towards Du Xiaofu from all directions. The destructive power of the terrifying thunderbolts made one's hair stand on end. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, Du Xiaofu allowed the destructive thunderbolts to fall on his body, and his entire body seemed to be covered by lightning. The destructive electric arcs hit Du Xiaofu's body, but he was safe and sound, and directly climbed to the top. Who the hell is that guy? He's not afraid of the Thunder Mountain, and he's not afraid of the Thunder Mountain. Yelu Han and Dugufengchen were completely dumbfounded, and their faces were full of astonishment. Many people in the surroundings were looking at Du Xiaofu's figure, and their astonishment was no less than Dugufengchen and Yelu Han's. The mysterious purple-haired man's method of climbing the mountain was undoubtedly more shocking than Du Xiaojing's. Rumble. As the legalism disciples and Du Xiaofu climbed the mountain, the experts of the major forces moved again and used all kinds of methods to resist the destructive thunderbolts. The golden-winged great peng flapped its wings, strange beasts soared through the sky, and the true dragon's shadow coiled in the firmament. The Buddha's shadow was in the sky, and a baleful aura filled the void, and scarlet flames covered the sky. Du Xiaofu climbed the mountain and rampaged through the thunderbolts. Du Xiaofu might be a little afraid of the weak water bone river, but Du Xiaofu was not afraid of the power of thunderbolts. Not to mention the thunder martial vein, even the immortal Shen body in his body was not afraid of the power of thunderbolts. Although he had used the divine art of disguise to change his appearance and figure, the immortal Shen body remained unchanged. Du Xiaofu's body had been broken by the purple gold profound lightning, so how could he be afraid of the power of thunderbolts? The thunderbolts poured into his body, but they did not cause any substantial effect on Du Xiaofu's body. What a strange thunderbolt! However, the destructive power of thunderbolts made Du Xiaofu feel strange. When the lightning entered his body, although it was unable to attack his physical body, it was able to cause his vitality to drain away. Streaks of thunderbolts gushed into his body like greedy snakes, devouring his life force. Du Xiaofu secretly activated the power of the thunder martial vein in his body, and only then did he eliminate the destructive power of the thunderbolts. Fortunately, the thunderbolts did not seem to have any intelligence. Otherwise, the result would make Du Xiaofu worried. If the thunderbolts had intelligence, even if he had the thunder martial vein and the immortal Xian body, he would definitely suffer. In the depths of the precipice, like the firmament, Du Xiaofu climbed to the top of the mountain in torrents of thunderbolts. Behind Du Xiaofu, many figures followed in roaring thunderbolts. It was shocking. Walala! Finally, Du Xiaofu reached the top. The dazzling destructive lightning arc above his head disappeared, and a dazzling light and spiritual qi of heaven and earth swept over. Du Xiaofu squinted his eyes and stepped into the void. The Xian qi in his body secretly circulated, guarding against any sudden danger. This, however, when he saw what was in front of him, Du Xiaofu could not help but gasp. After crossing the precipice, Thunder Mountain, there was no danger in front of him, but a boundless mountain range and an ancient forest. Looking down, the mountains in front of him were under his feet. Multicolored light soared into the sky, and spiritual herbs covered the ground between the towering trees. The air was full of spiritual qi of heaven and earth. In comparison, the sealed treasure lands of the 9 great families were nothing. They could not be compared to this vast mountain range. Chapter 1931. If one cultivated in such a place for a long time, they would be able to obtain great benefits. Spirit herbs could be found everywhere in this ancient forest. There was no lack of rare spirit herbs in the outside world, and there were even many treasured herbs. Du Xiaofu could be considered as someone with extraordinary willpower, but when he looked at the spirit herbs that covered the ancient forest, he couldn't help but inwardly gasp. There were so many spirit herbs, and there were even treasured herbs among them. If they fell into the hands of any force, it would be enough to dominate the world. Such a temptation was something that no force in the world could resist. Heavens, there are so many spirit herbs. The Heavenly Yu Mountain is really as the legends say. They are rich. Figures appeared one after another behind Du Xiaofu. They were all experts from various forces. Some of them were protecting the disciples of their clans as they ascended to the peak. Looking at everything in front of them, their eyes were red. Awoo! Some demonic beast experts roared and swooped down, entering the forest and directly swallowing the spirit herbs. Their mouths were full of multicolored light as energy gushed out. Swoosh, swoosh. Above the void, Du Xiaojing, who was the first to arrive, turned her head and swept her gaze across the people behind her. Her beautiful eyes intentionally swept past Du Xiaofu. Then, with a wave of her slender hand, she led the legalism disciples into the depths of the mountain range, not stopping to look at the extraordinary spirit herbs that covered the mountain range. Swoosh, swoosh. Above the void, the various forces also flew into the depths of the mountain range. Although the spirit herbs that covered the ground were invaluable, it wasn't their purpose for coming here this time. Finding the sacred herbs is more important. Yeluhan also appeared behind Du Xiaofu. Looking at the spirit herbs that covered the mountain range, his eyes rippled, but he wasn't too moved. The most attractive thing in the Heavenly Yu Mountain was the legendary sacred herbs. Although the spirit herbs that covered the mountain range were invaluable, compared to the sacred herbs, they were not enough. The sacred herbs were the true purpose of the various forces and experts coming to the Heavenly Yu Mountain this time. It was a temptation that no cultivator could resist. Let's go. As soon as Du Gefenchen said this, he had already flown forward, not wanting to let others have the opportunity to obtain the sacred herbs. What a pity! Du Xiaofu's face was full of heartache. At this moment, he really didn't have the time to pick the spiritual herbs on the ground. Not to mention the saintly herbs, Dongli Qingqing's whereabouts were still unknown. Perhaps she had already entered the heavenly Yu mountain ahead of time. This made Du Xiaofu worried. Wait for me, you two. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes and chased after Dugufengchen and Yelu Han with a smile on his face. The outline of the mountain range was incomparably rich in spiritual qi of heaven and earth. A faint mist covered the forest, flowing with the wind. The mountain range was filled with strange flowers and herbs. Occasionally, there would be strange birds and birds. Everything was like a fairyland, making people feel as if they were in a paradise, forgetting that they were in the terrifying heavenly devil battlefield. Awoo! In the forest, there were also the roars of beasts. In such a place filled with spiritual qi of heaven and earth, there were also many demonic beasts, including many powerful demonic beasts. In a mountain range, Yelu Han said to Du Xiaofu, "This place has already formed its own world. In such a place filled with spiritual qi of heaven and earth, there are countless spiritual herbs. Some of the demonic beasts must be very powerful. We have to be careful." Du Xiaofu stuffed a large amount of spiritual herbs into his mouth and wolfed them down. They were all extraordinary spiritual herbs, more than enough to refine venerable grade pills. They were all picked in the vicinity. There were also many spiritual herbs that Du Xiaofu directly put into his spatial pouch, afraid that Dugufengchen and Yelu Han would snatch them away. Not bad, it's better to be careful. Hearing Yelu Han's words, Du Xiaofu nodded. His mouth was still filled with spiritual herbs. Du Xiaofu naturally didn't dare to be careless about the uniqueness of this heavenly Yu mountain. In such a place filled with spiritual herbs and spiritual qi of heaven and earth, there must be extremely powerful demonic beasts. Back in the divine domain, Thunder Eagle King and Death Demon King were not ordinary beasts. Looking at Du Xiaofu's appearance of directly swallowing spiritual herbs, Dugufengchen and Yelu Han were inwardly shocked. The more they interacted with this mysterious guy, the more mysterious he became. They simply couldn't see through him. The demonic beasts here should still have ancient bloodlines. They must be very powerful. Dugufengchen looked around, his mind constantly paying attention to his surroundings. He was constantly on guard against everything. The injuries on his body had also gradually healed, and he was no longer in a serious condition. Let's go, there should be a spiritual herb in front. Du Xiaofu packed up several spiritual herbs nearby and looked at the mountain in front of him with a smile on his face. With the scarlet demonic horse bloodline soul, Du Xiaofu could search for spiritual herbs and heavenly treasures as if he was wearing a detector. If only Du Xiaoyao was here. In Du Xiaofu's heart, he could not help but think of Du Xiaoyao. In such a place, if Du Xiaoyao was here, most of the spiritual herbs and heavenly treasures in the heavenly Yu mountain wouldn't fall into the hands of others. Swoosh, Du Xiaofu soared into the sky, heading towards his next destination. Dugufengchen and Yelu Han followed him. Not long after, they saw Du Xiaofu plucking a spiritual herb under a towering tree that was suffused with multicolored light and extraordinary energy fluctuations. Does this guy have some kind of secret technique? Yelu Han and Dugufengchen lowered their heads and looked at each other in dismay. Their hearts were filled with speechless shock. That guy had already found several dozen stalks of precious herbs along the way, and he had never let his guard down. He was always able to find precious herbs and extremely high-level spirit herbs at the fastest speed and the shortest distance. The entire heavenly Yu mountain was very big. With Du Xiaofu and Yelu Han's speed, they had already been inside for half an hour, but they were still shuttling through the vast mountain range. Along the way, Du Xiaofu, Yelu Han, and Dugufengchen really did encounter some mysterious demonic beasts. Their bodies weren't big, but their auras were very powerful. Several of them were at the domain realm. It seemed that because of Yelu Han and Dugufengchen's faintly discernible auras, those demonic beasts watched the three of them pluck spiritual herbs. Although they were unwilling, they didn't attack. Do you think these demonic beasts have spiritual intelligence? Du Xiaofu looked at the several ancient demonic beasts in the distance curiously. The demonic beasts in the heavenly devil battlefield had already been demonized, but the demonic beasts in the heavenly Yu mountain obviously weren't. He just didn't know if it was like the divine domain, where their spiritual intelligence would be affected because of the space restriction. Let's not provoke them. Finding the sacred herb is more important. Yelu Han rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu. She was really afraid that Du Xiaofu would cause trouble. Where is the sacred herb? Dugu Fenshin frowned. It was rumored that there was a sacred herb in the Heavenly Yu Mountain, but he didn't know where it was. Qingqing, are you in the Heavenly Yu Mountain? Compared to the sacred herb, Du Xiaofu was more worried about Dongli Qingqing. Awu. Suddenly, the demonic beasts in the distance roared as if they had been summoned by something. The sound waves soared into the sky, shaking the sea of trees. Chapter 1932. Several demonic beasts instantly turned around and left, ignoring Du Xiaofu and the other two. They seemed to have been summoned. Something seems to have happened. Yelu Han raised his eyebrows slightly as light flickered in his eyes. Let's go and take a look. As soon as Du Xiaofu finished speaking, something must have happened in front of him. His toes touched the ground, and his figure turned into an afterimage as he rushed in the direction of the demonic beasts. Yelu Han and Dugufenshin looked at each other and quickly followed with curiosity. The demonic beasts weren't big, but they were extremely fast in the ancient forest. Du Xiaofu's figure was like lightning as he followed behind them. About a few minutes later, over 100 demonic beasts appeared in front of them. The surrounding rocks were shattered, towering trees were broken, and the ground was cracked. It was a complete mess. Du Xiaofu's figure landed on a large tree in the distance. He gently recorded the scene as he stared straight ahead. A screech! The demonic beasts on the ground and in the air were roaring. Over 100 demonic beasts were besieging a flock of giant birds. These giant birds were like eagles. They belonged to the demon vulture clan of the beast region. They were very powerful and could be compared to the sky serpent clan. However, the dozen demon vultures of the demon vulture clan were currently besieged by over 100 demonic beasts. A huge demon vulture emitted monstrous demonic aura as it hovered in the air. Its power was incomparably vast as it flapped its wings and swept out in all directions. Several leading demonic beasts soared into the sky. Their bodies glowed brightly as mysterious runes erupted from their bodies. They directly clashed with the strongest demon vulture. It's the demon vulture clan fighting with the demonic beasts here. The demonic beasts here are really powerful. Yelu Han and Dugufenshin landed next to Du Xiaofu. Their faces were solemn as they watched the battle. The leader of the demon vulture clan has reached the peak of the master region. Although there are many demonic beasts, the strongest among them are only 2 at the domain realm. I'm afraid they won't be able to defeat the demon vulture clan. Yelu Han said. Many demonic beasts' corpses were left in the earth-shattering battle, but there were no demon vulture clan members. The demon vulture clans. The demon vulture clan's leader was at the peak of the master region and was protecting the demon vulture clan's clan members. However, at this moment, those demonic beasts were still resisting. Their vicious eyes were filled with rage, and they didn't want to leave. Strange, why are these demonic beasts attacking the demon vulture clan so crazily? It seems like they are protecting something? Du Xiaofu muttered. He could feel that something was amiss. Earlier on, those few demonic beasts did not attack the 3 of them. Yet, at this moment, even though they knew that they were no match for the group of demon eagles, they still chose to fight them head-on without any regard for their own safety. Could it be? Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's eyes lit up as he stared at a certain spot on the mountain that was in a mess. Amidst the monstrous battle and the mysterious runes that filled the sky, there was a bright light that was releasing divine light. There was a red tree vine that was as thick as an arm. Its entire body seemed to be flowing like lava, but it bore a fist-sized green fruit. There seemed to be ripples on the surface of the fruit. Looking from afar, it seemed as if there was a green flame burning on it. Earthly flame heavenly fruit, that's the earthly flame heavenly fruit. Dugufenshin's voice suddenly rang out. His eyes were trembling and his body was trembling with excitement. You recognize that spiritual fruit? Although Du Xiaofu was an expert in spirit medicine and spirit fruits, and there were not many things in the world that he could not recognize, he did not recognize the earth flame heavenly fruit. He turned around and looked at Dugufenshin in surprise. It was rare for this guy to be this excited. However, it wasn't difficult for Du Xiaofu to determine that the spiritual fruit was definitely a precious medicine. Moreover, it wasn't an ordinary precious medicine. Its level was much higher than the precious medicines he had obtained along the way. Looking at it from afar, it could make one's soul tremble. It was a rare treasure. The earthly flame heavenly fruit is a legendary medicine. The earthly flame heavenly fruit is a legendary item. It can't be found in this world for a long time. Its value is almost the same as that of a panacea. It's far from being comparable to an ordinary panacea. My cultivation method is a little special. If I can get an earthly flame heavenly fruit, it's enough to make my cultivation method reach a higher level. Then, I'll have some confidence to step into the sage realm in the future. Back then, I sealed myself for thousands of years. In addition to wanting to obtain the greatest opportunity in the space of the God's domain, I also wanted to find an earthly flame heavenly fruit in the space of the God's domain. Unfortunately, I didn't obtain an earthly flame heavenly fruit. Dugu Fenshin was very excited. His cultivation technique was very special. If he could obtain an earthly flame heavenly fruit, not only would his cultivation technique advance to the next level, but also his cultivation technique would advance to the next level. That was the most terrifying thing. Dugu Fenshin originally thought that there was no earthly flame heavenly fruit in the present world. However, he saw it here at this moment. How could he not be excited? Treasure, it's an absolute treasure. Du Xiaofu's eyes lit up when he heard this. It was almost the same as a sage medicine. Such a treasure was enough to make anyone go crazy. Do we have to intervene? Yelu Han's eyes trembled when he heard this. Such a treasure was enough to tempt him. At this moment, although the Demon Vulture clan had a peak Master Realm expert and a group of extraordinary demonic beasts, if the three of them joined forces, they would definitely have the strength to fight for it. They couldn't just watch such a treasure fall into the hands of the Demon Vulture clan. You only know how to fight and kill. We want the earthly flame heavenly fruit. Don't fight and kill. After Du Xiaofu rolled his eyes at Yelu Han and Dugu Fenshin, his eyes were already fixed on the earthly flame heavenly fruit. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile. He didn't have good intentions. You guys wait for me here. Hide your aura and don't leave. As his voice fell, Du Xiaofu's figure had already disappeared from the tree without a sound. Dugu Fenshin and Yelu Han looked suspicious and puzzled. They seemed to be hesitating, but in the end, they concealed their aura and stayed where they were. Rumble! The void rumbled as the fierce battle continued. The leading Demon Vulture clan erupted. His aura was monstrous, and wherever he flapped his wings, the void would distort and crack. However, there were two Master Realm demonic beasts with mysterious origins. One was like a wolf and a tiger, while the other was like a python. Their bodies were covered in a thick layer of barbs as if they were covered in sharp swords. The two Master Realm demonic beasts also erupted. Their bodies glowed brightly as they soared hundreds of meters into the air. Amidst clanging sounds, energy waves surged as they besieged the Demon Vulture clan's leader. However, although the two Master Realm demonic beasts were powerful and came from the ancient era, they weren't a match for the peak Master Realm expert of the Demon Vulture clan. You can't stop me. The Demon Vulture clan's 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 leader. Chapter 1933. At the same time, the leading peak master of the Demon Vulture clan no longer bothered with them. He flapped his wings and dived towards the earthly flame heavenly fruit, intending to snatch it away. The Demon Vulture clan's expert was very fast. He pushed back the two-domain realm ancient demonic beasts and arrived above the earthly flame heavenly fruit with a flap of his wings. He was about to take the fruit. Swish! However, at that moment, a hand reached out from the void beside the earthly flame heavenly fruit and grabbed it at a speed that was faster than one could cover one's ears with one's hand. The claw of the peak master of the Demon Vulture clan only left a faint mark in the void, but the earthly flame heavenly fruit had disappeared. Bastard, you're courting death. In an instant, The peak main region expert of the Demon Vulture clan had discovered that someone had snatched the earthly flame heavenly fruit right under his nose. How could he let the matter rest? With a loud roar, he swept his wings across the void with a loud boom, tearing through the void and sweeping towards the person who had stretched out his hand. Rumble! The void shattered as the demonic aura of the Demon Vulture clan flooded the void. Earthly flame heavenly fruit, whoever sees it will have a share. Such a voice echoed in the void. At the edge of the shattered void, a figure appeared and quickly left. "You're courting death." The peak main region realm expert from the Demon Vulture clan was furious. His eyes were practically spitting fire. His sharp claws tore through the sky and instantly extended towards the figure, tearing it apart in the void. The figure was torn apart, rippling through the void. In the end, it disappeared without a trace. No blood was left behind. It was just an afterimage that had been torn apart. Swish! That mysterious figure had already appeared in front of them and left like a bolt of lightning. "Bastard!" The Demon Vulture clan's expert screamed furiously. That was the earthly flame heavenly fruit, which was not far off from a sacred herb. It was about to get it. It was a great opportunity, but who would have thought that it would fly away? He could only watch as someone snatched it from under his nose. How could he let it go? He flapped his wings and gave chase. Awah! The two domain realm ancient demon beasts that had been knocked back had also stabilized their footing, and upon seeing that someone had snatched the earthly flame heavenly fruit away, they let loose furious roars and gave chase. When the large group of ancient demonic beasts heard the roars of the two leading domain realm ancient demonic beasts, they stopped fighting with the Demon Vulture race's experts and left. Chase after him. The experts of the Demon Vulture tribe seemed to have not recovered from their shock. They were stunned for a moment. Then, someone shouted and the giant demon vultures also rushed into the distance. Oh! Suddenly, thunderous roars rang out, shaking the earth and mountains. A large group of demonic beasts ran wildly in the air and on the ground. On a distant tree, Dugufenshin and Yelu Han, who had concealed their auras, watched from afar. The corners of their eyes twitched. Dugufenshin and Yelu Han hadn't expected that guy to really snatch the earthly flame heavenly fruit under the nose of the Demon Vulture race. However, the Demon Vulture race's speed was extremely fast. In addition, the Demon Vulture race's leader was at the peak of the main domain realm, and there were over 100 ancient demonic beasts chasing after him. It was like poking a hornet's nest. It wouldn't be easy to escape. No, that guy wants to take the earthly flame heavenly fruit for himself. Suddenly, Dugufenshin's expression changed. That guy snatched the earthly flame heavenly fruit and left alone. That wasn't an ordinary treasure, but an earthly flame heavenly fruit. That guy definitely wanted to take it for himself. Yelu Han's expression changed slightly when he heard that. To be honest, he didn't know much about that mysterious guy. If that guy wanted to take a treasure like the earthly flame heavenly fruit for himself, it was indeed possible. Dugufenshin stared at Yelu Han. Yelu Han was in the same group as that guy. The earthly flame heavenly fruit was just too important to him. "Why are you staring at me? I don't know him that well." Yelu Han felt helpless when he saw Dugufenshin's gaze. He knew Dugufenshin's character. Although he wasn't afraid of Dugufenshin, he was still a huge problem once Dugufenshin set his eyes on him. "You two have been together for a long time. Do you think I'll believe you?" Dugufenshin stared at Yelu Han. Obviously, he didn't believe Yelu Han. Swoosh! At this moment, the sound of wind breaking resounded. A figure landed beside Yelu Han and Dugufenshin. His purple hair fluttered slightly, and there was a smile on his face. "You..." Dugufenshin and Yelu Han were a little surprised when they saw Du Xiaofu suddenly appear. They looked in the direction where Du Xiaofu had disappeared. Didn't that guy escape in that direction? Why did he come back in the opposite direction? "This is the most useful thing for you. I'll give it to you." Du Xiaofu smiled and threw the item in his hand to Dugufenshin. He then said, "Let's go quickly. When that old guy finds out that something is wrong, he will definitely chase after us." As soon as his voice fell, Du Xiaofu's figure left in the opposite direction of the Demon Vulture clan and the ancient demonic beast expert. Du Fenshin stretched out his hand and a fist-sized spirit fruit appeared in his palm. Its body seemed to be covered by a cyan divine flame. It carried a surging energy fluctuation as it appeared in his palm. Under the cover of the cyan divine flame, there was a magma-like scarlet light. It looked like a crystal, sparkling and translucent. It made people's souls tremble and their hearts tremble. Earthly flame heavenly fruit. Du Fenshin trembled. This was the earthly flame heavenly fruit he had been searching for thousands of years. At this moment, it was in his palm. Yelu Han looked at the earthly flame heavenly fruit in Du Xiaofu's hand and her eyes rippled. She then looked in the direction that Du Xiaofu had left with a strange expression. She seemed to be thinking about something mysterious, but she didn't stop. She tapped her foot on the tree branch and followed after him. Du Fenshin raised his head and looked at Du Xiaofu's back. His scarlet eyes were deep and rippling. He put the earthly flame heavenly fruit into his Qianquan bag and followed after him. Bastard, my demon vulture clan will not let you off. Not long after Du Xiaofu, Yelu Han, and Du Fenshin left, a huge demon vulture flapped its wings and returned. It roared angrily above the tree where the three of them had just stopped. Its sharp claws crushed the towering tree into powder. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's group was already thousands of miles away. There was a lake that was dozens of miles wide and several figures were floating above the lake. There were lotus leaves on the surface of the lake. It wasn't an ordinary thing and was filled with multicolored light. There was a golden lotus blooming. It was the size of a baby and was emitting a dazzling light, illuminating the surface of the lake. This golden lotus seemed to be one, but upon closer inspection, there were actually three of them. They were back to back, leaning against each other and blooming. On the petals, mysterious runes were fluctuating in an intricate manner like meridians. We're really rich this time. This is a great treasure. Someone laughed loudly. His voice was loud and clear and his eyes were filled with excitement. Chapter 1934. As soon as he finished speaking, a majestic middle-aged man stepped across the lake, causing waves to ripple as he reached out to grab the golden lotus. Roar. Suddenly, a roar was heard, and the surface of the lake suddenly surged. A flood dragon soared into the sky, causing huge waves to surge up into the sky. The flood dragon instantly pounced towards the majestic middle-aged man, its terrifying aura surging. That was an absolute powerhouse. The majestic middle-aged man's expression changed, and his figure suddenly changed. A scorching red flame spread out, and a palm print distorted the void, like a divine seal, slamming out with the roar of a lion. Roar. When this palm print was formed and slammed out, the void trembled, and the scorching aura caused the temperature of the lake to rise. Lava fell into the water, causing huge waves to ripple. The flood dragon collided with the palm print, causing the void to tremble and the surrounding lake to explode. With a rumble, the flood dragon was forced back, and blood began to flow from its mouth. The flood dragon was no match for the majestic middle-aged man, and its ferocious eyes glowed as it looked towards the golden lotus. Its figure instantly rushed out, its mouth spewing out a terrifying aura. It wanted to swallow the golden lotus directly, and it could not allow it to be taken away by others. This 3 lives golden lotus is mine. Get out of my way. The middle-aged man had an invisible majestic aura, and his aura was fierce. With a wave of his hand, scorching flames erupted, condensing into a huge flaming lion. This was the beast ability of the flaming lion, a demonic beast that could be compared to the sky snake. It erupted with 100,000 feet of fire, and flames splashed in all directions. Divine light surged as it pounced towards the flood dragon. The flood dragon was blocked, and it had no choice but to use its full strength. This part of the void shattered, and the flood dragon roared endlessly. In the end, it destroyed the flaming lion beast ability, and the runes shattered. However, this delay at this moment allowed the middle-aged man to appear above the 3 lives golden lotus. With a smile on his face, he reached out with his hand, wanting to pluck the 3 lives golden lotus. The 3 lives golden lotus, the fated one shall obtain it. However, at this moment, laughter rang out. Just as the majestic middle-aged man's hand was about to reach for the 3 lives golden lotus, another hand was faster than the majestic middle-aged man, instantly grabbing the 3 lives golden lotus. "You're courting death." The majestic middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. He was instantly enraged. The arm that he had stretched out shook, and a claw print directly tore through the space and swept out. This claw mark tore apart the spatial ripples, causing the void to tremble. Huge waves surged on the surface of the lake, emitting blazing flames. However, that figure escaped. His figure was like a bolt of lightning, leaving behind only his back as he swaggered off. "Bastard, you can't escape!" The middle-aged man shouted as a terrifying aura erupted from his body. In an instant, he transformed into a gigantic fire-red demon lion and furiously chased after the silhouette. Roar! Roar! That frightening dragon roar followed closely behind. A couple of figures were stunned for a moment. Soon after, all of them transformed into red fire demon lions. Amidst a series of lion roars that shook the sky, huge waves rose on the surface of the lake as they chased into the distance. The surface of the lake gradually calmed down, but it was already a mess. The lotus leaves that filled the lake began to wither, and then disappeared into the lake. On a mountain peak outside the lake, there were 2 figures hiding their auras as they watched everything from afar. One of them was dressed in red and had a deep gaze. The other had a handsome face. He was dressed in a dark red robe with a hood that covered half of his head. His eyes were deep and dark, and they were sharp. Whoosh! A third figure appeared beside the 2 of them. His purple hair reached his shoulders, and before he landed, a voice rang out, "Let's go, that lion might catch up." The expressions of the red-clothed man and the sharp man changed slightly. They were somewhat helpless, but they also seemed to become enthusiastic. They immediately followed the purple-haired man and left. A moment later, on the mountain peak, 3 men were sitting in a circle. The aroma of barbecued meat filled the air, and wine came out of nowhere. They were eating heartily. At this moment, aside from Du Xiaofu, Yelu Han, and Du Gefenshin, who had used a disguise technique, it was impossible for them to be anyone else. The taste is not bad. Du Xiaofu drank wine and ate barbecued meat. What shocked Yelu Han and Du Gefenshin was that the way Du Xiaofu ate the barbecued meat was not ordinary. He ate the fragrant barbecued meat with spirit herbs raw. Those stalks of spirit herbs, which were worth a lot in the outside world, were like vegetables in this guy's mouth. Those spirit herbs were of high quality, and they emitted a bright light that shrouded Du Xiaofu's body. It was as if he was covered in a layer of divine radiance. Du Xiaofu didn't pay attention to Yelu Han and Du Gefenshin's occasional surprised and shocked expressions. Although these spirit herbs weren't as pure as after being refined, it saved him a lot of effort. In the end, he could rely on the cultivation method of the golden-winged Great Peng clan to absorb the spirit herb's energy and nourish his body. Most importantly, it could increase his strength. If it was the outside world, even if Du Xiaofu was rich, he would not dare to eat such spirit herbs. He would definitely feel heartache. However, there were spirit herbs everywhere in the heavenly Yu Mountain. Du Xiaofu would not be reluctant to part with them. Now was the time to urgently increase his strength. If he wanted to step into the sage realm, it was not enough to rely on sufficient Xian Qi. However, Du Xiaofu's Xian Qi was not enough. If he could increase his Xian Qi, it would be a good foundation for him to step into the sage realm in the future. Rest for a while, I'm full. After a while, Du Xiaofu sat down cross-legged and circulated his cultivation method to heal himself. However, he did not expose himself. Looking at Du Xiaofu, Yelu Han and Du Gefenshin raised their eyebrows and also sat down cross-legged to circulate their cultivation method. After resting for 4 hours, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. He still had not found Dongli Qingqing. Du Xiaofu was definitely interested in the legendary Saint Herb in the heavenly Yu Mountain. At this moment, there was not much time to waste. Let's continue to search for the Saint Herb. Du Xiaofu stood up and stretched. Although he had changed his appearance, one could still see that his body was sparkling and had an invisible power. You have already robbed the Demon Vulture clan and the Fiery Red Lion clan. Be careful. Yelu Han reminded Du Xiaofu. This guy was really not afraid of trouble. He had already offended many people on the Heavenly Yu Mountain. Not to mention, he had offended the Legalism clan and the Dragons, then the Heavenly Snake clan, and now the Fiery Red Lion clan and the Demon Vulture clan. He had so many enemies, and all of them were terrifying. Ordinary people would not dare to appear on the Heavenly Yu Mountain after offending just one of them. Even he, who had been targeted by the Legalism clan and the Dragons, would not dare to appear on the Heavenly Yu Mountain if it were not for the alliance with Du Xiaofu. But what shocked Yelu Han was that the guy in front of him was not afraid at all. He had offended so many big forces, but no one was worried about him. Du Xiaofu smiled at Yelu Han and Du Fenshin. Why? Are you afraid? What's there to be afraid of? Isn't it just treasure hunting? Treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. Du Fenshin raised his eyes, and a red light appeared in his deep eyes. The injuries on his body were getting better and better. I'm not afraid. I've never been afraid. Yelu Han glanced at Du Xiaofu indifferently. He was just being careful. He was not afraid. That's good. Let's go and continue to rob. Du Xiaofu's voice suddenly stopped, and he smiled embarrassedly. Then, he said with incomparable holiness and majesty, continue to search for treasures. Treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. Treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. Yelu Han and Du Fenshin looked at each other and smiled knowingly. They naturally understood the meaning behind Du Xiaofu's words. How was it fated to obtain them? He was clearly seizing the opportunity to rob them. But at this moment, Yelu Han and Du Fenshin's eyes were filled with anticipation. The two of them were undoubtedly influenced by Du Xiaofu along the way. Treasures like the earthly flame heavenly fruit and the 3 lives golden lotus naturally could not fall into the hands of others. They were clear in their hearts that if the 3 of them joined forces, they would be able to occupy one side of the Heavenly Yu Mountain. Then the 3 of them conversed. Those true high-grade treasures were guarded by powerful ancient demonic beasts, so they had to be careful. After all, these treasures are the trump cards of those ancient demonic beasts. We have to be careful. Du Xiaofu also nodded in agreement. This Heavenly Yu Mountain was very strange. There might be Saint Realm demonic beasts here. It was best not to provoke those local snakes. Actually, I think it's not a bad idea to reap the benefits of others. Du Fenshin smiled faintly. He felt that seizing the treasures from the Demon Vulture race and the Red Fire Demonic Lion race wasn't a bad idea. Hee, Du Xiaofu chuckled. It seemed like Du Fenshin wasn't as righteous as he seemed. After packing up, the 3 of them left. The 3 of them turned into rainbows that were filled with majesty and power. Even though the 3 of them had restrained their auras, they still gave off an indescribable feeling that made the hearts of all living beings tremble. With the scarlet demonic horse bloodline soul, Du Xiaofu could easily find treasures. At this moment, experts from various races had barged into the Heavenly Yu Mountain. They were all searching for treasures and the legendary Saint Medicine. The 3 of them were not interested in ordinary cultivators and spiritual herbs, even if they were just passing by. On a cliff of a high mountain, an incomparably huge black bear roared with its head held high. In front of it was a demonic leopard covered in scales that was on the verge of death. On top of the cliff, there was a huge rock that was filled with majestic energy. In the middle of the rock, there was a gorgeous flower that bloomed like the morning sun. That's the Raging Bear region, lord of the immemorial Violent Bear region. Before I sealed it, it was already a famous expert. However, it's still at the peak of the domain realm after so long. No wonder it came to the Heavenly Yu Mountain to look for opportunities. Du Fenshin's figure appeared in the void and said softly, "That's the Endless Sky Saint Flower, a great treasure." Yelu Han's eyes lit up as he recognized the flower that was filled with the morning sun. It was a treasure medicine of an extremely high level. It wasn't something ordinary treasures could compare to. Du Fenshin didn't hesitate and rushed out. In an instant, his figure appeared behind the immemorial Violent Bear and punched out fiercely. Chapter 1935. The primordial Violent Bear stood on the cliff. It was huge and radiant. Feeling the sneak attack behind it, it turned around and its eyes shone brightly. You're courting death. The Raging Bear Region Lord shouted. He was a peak domain realm expert. With his powerful physical defense, he wasn't afraid of a sneak attack at all. The Raging Bear Region Lord directly attacked with his huge bear paw. With a rumble, the space above the mountain began to riot, and spatial ripples surged into the sky. The Raging Bear Region Lord's every move was filled with violent energy. It was extremely powerful. But this time, the Raging Bear Region Lord made a mistake. He was unlucky because he met Dugufenshin. When Dugufenshin's fist touched, it instantly released a terrifying heat. It was like a volcanic eruption, directly engulfing the bear paw. At the same time, the ancient flame armor on Dugufenshin's body burst out with blazing divine power. Sizzle! The Raging Bear Region Lord was forced back. His huge body staggered backward. His huge bear paw was covered in flames as if it was about to be roasted. Fire Cloud Evil God Dugufenshin. The Raging Bear Region Lord roared like thunder. He recognized Dugufenshin. They had fought thousands of years ago. His eyes were filled with anger, but he was also afraid. The Endless Sky Saint Flower belongs to the Fated One. Yelu Han appeared in front of the Endless Sky Saint Flower and reached out to pick it. How dare you! How could the Raging Bear Region Lord be willing to give up such a treasure? He immediately roared and tried to stop him. You're not strong enough, Dugufenshin said. He exploded with power and quickly blocked the Raging Bear Region Lord with a punch. Bang! Du Xiaofu appeared. He came and went like a ghost, drifting like a god. His fist landed on the Raging Bear Region Lord's head. This sneak attack was a solid one. The back of the Wild Bear Domain Lord's head immediately emitted a rumbling sound, and a large bump immediately appeared. His head buzzed and he was immediately stunned. Let's go! Yelu Han had already plucked the Endless Sky Holy Flower and left immediately. Du Xiaofu and Dugufenshin didn't stay any longer. The three of them left in a flash. Before the Raging Bear Domain ruler could recover from his shock, the three figures had already disappeared with the Endless Sky Holy Flower. Dugufenshin, I'm not done with you. The Wild Bear Domain Lord roared. His enormous body immediately crossed the mountain and roared angrily at Dugufenshin's back. However, the Raging Bear Region ruler didn't give chase. He just noticed that the other person besides Dugufenshin was the heavenly fiend Yelu Han and the mysterious purple-haired man. The three of them were simply too powerful. Even if it chased after them, it would only be looking for a beating. There was no way it would be able to snatch back the Endless Sky Holy Flower. An hour later, an old man roared in anger within the mountain range. His hair danced in the wind as he condensed a fist imprint in his hand. The light before his fist shot into the heavens. Dugufenshin took action. His body was covered in ancient flame armor. His fist erupted with blazing fiery light as he collided with the former. Boom! The void trembled. That old man was very strong, but he was not Dugufenshin's opponent. His body was sent flying and smashed into a mountain peak. The old man spat out blood and rushed out. His body was in intense pain, but he didn't lose his vigilance. Profound qi protected his body. Let's go. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu rushed out from under a cliff. His hand was filled with multicolored light as he held a stalk of precious medicine in his hand. Swoosh swoosh, the three figures left without lingering. The old man's face was pale and his eyes were twitching. Dugufenshin, Yelu Han, my ancient fist sect is not done with you. The old man roared angrily as he watched the precious medicine that was about to be snatched away. However, he didn't dare to chase after them. The old man was enraged. His body emitted a dazzling light. His fist smashed in all directions with an invincible momentum. The energy swept out like a wave, shattering many towering trees and boulders. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu, Yelu Han, and Dugufenshin had already left. Following that, the Heavenly Yu Mountain was in an uproar. The fire cloud evil god Dugufenshin, the heavenly demon Yelu Han, and the mysterious purple-haired man joined forces to snatch the heavenly treasures and spiritual medicines that were about to fall into the hands of many experts and forces. These three could be said to be extremely arrogant and domineering. They didn't put the various forces and experts in their eyes at all. It was unknown how many experts and forces had been plundered by them. The three of them attacked suddenly every time, taking advantage of the unpreparedness. Two of them attacked while the others seized the precious medicine and heavenly treasures. They didn't leave empty-handed and left after the deed was done. Many experts and forces suffered losses. Although they were furious, they couldn't do anything. They knew that they weren't a match for Du Gufenchen and Yelu Han's group. They were two supremes and were absolutely powerful. During this period of time, the most shocking thing that Du Xiaofu's group of three had done was without a doubt taking away an extraordinary medicine right under the noses of the Dragon Clan right in front of Long Ming. Long Ming was injured again, and it was said that several experts of the Dragon Clan had died as well. This news shook the entire Heavenly Yu Mountain. Everyone was cautious and on guard against the three people, fearing that they would snatch the treasures. Many victims began to form an alliance, wanting to find the three people and take back the treasures. As more and more people were snatched by the three people, more and more people formed an alliance. In a deep valley, water dripped from a mountain stream and mist rose. Three figures were sitting cross-legged, meditating and adjusting their breathing. Du Gufenchen and Yelu Han were enveloped in dazzling radiance. Profound energy fluctuated with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The two of them had consumed the heavenly treasures and obtained many benefits. At this moment, they were clearly at a critical juncture of refining. Chi. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes. A white divine light flashed in his eyes. Swoosh, swoosh, bursts of wind-breaking sounds resounded, coming from all directions. Powerful auras filled the air, coming from the distant sky. Chi. Du Xiaofu looked at Yelu Han and Du Gufenchen, who were at a critical juncture of refining. He formed hand seals, condensing a powerful seal that instantly enveloped Yelu Han and Du Gufenchen. Waves of runes spread out, releasing dazzling light. The seal was arranged, instantly isolating Yelu Han and Du Gufenchen. The mysterious runes of the talisman enveloped them like a light shield. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. In an instant, wind-breaking sounds resounded. No less than 200 figures descended from all directions around the mountain stream. Waves of vast auras swept across the sky. In particular, the auras of the leaders from all directions were incomparably powerful. None of them were weak. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly, looking at the numerous figures around the mountain stream. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The Fire-Red Demon Lion Clan, the Demon Vulture Clan, the Wild Bear Domain Lord, the Heavenly Snake Clan. Looking at the figures around, how could Du Xiaofu not be familiar with them? They were all from the Fire-Red Demon Lion Clan, but he didn't expect that the Heavenly Snake Clan would also join in. There were no less than 200 people. But at this moment, Du Xiaofu's eyes were fixed on Long Ming, whom he had seen again a day ago. There was a figure standing quietly there. Chapter 1936. It was a man who looked to be in his 30s. He was tall and burly, with a deep and fair face that had sharp edges and corners. As he looked at the man, Du Xiaofu felt some fluctuations in his soul. Second Prince, it's the three of them? The pale-faced Long Ming looked at Du Xiaofu, Yelu Han, and Du Gufenchen, who were trapped in the formation. His eyes were dark and intimidating. Leave this one to me. You guys deal with the other two. The man Long Ming called the second Crown Prince spoke. His voice was ethereal but powerful. His voice contained the roar of a dragon, and the might of a dragon filled the air. The weaker creatures in the surroundings trembled inwardly when they heard this voice. Their minds trembled, and they almost fell from the mountain stream. So strong. Just one word was enough to make the experts from the Red Fire Demonic Lion Clan, the Heavenly Serpent Clan, and the Demon Vulture Clan tremble. Chila. As soon as he finished speaking, the man's figure descended from the sky. His hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were like rubies. He pointed at Du Xiaofu and said, "You dare to offend us dragons? That you're Long too?" Du Xiaofu replied. From the way Long Ming addressed him, he had already learned from his future father-in-law, Qi Mingxian, that Long Yi and Long Air had both arrived at the heavenly devil battlefield. At this moment, The second prince was most likely Long Heir. Since you know who I am, then you didn't die in vain. Long Tu was very strong. His expression was cold and indifferent. A kind of red flame began to pervade the surroundings. This flame was different from the flame on Long Teng's body. It was much stronger than the flame on Long Teng's body. The crimson flames surged and spread. They were like crimson waves that permeated the mountain stream, causing Long Heir to feel as though he was in a sea of flames. His entire being was like a god with an imposing and disdainful aura. Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened. Sure enough, it was that Long Tu. It was rumored that even powerful and arrogant existences like Qin Wudi and Gongsun Wuji were afraid of Long Tu. It was enough to show how powerful Long Tu was. However, Du Xiaofu wasn't afraid at all. He glanced at Long Tu, but didn't say anything. Then, he swept his gaze over the various forces and experts around the mountain stream. His expression darkened, and he said in an indifferent tone, "The heavenly treasures in the Heavenly Yu Mountain can only be obtained by those who are fated to obtain them. Since you can't obtain them, it means that you don't have the opportunity to do so. Therefore, I've always taken things that don't belong to anyone. If you retreat now, I can pretend that nothing happened today." His voice reverberated through the mountain stream, causing everyone's expressions to change. It was true that Du Gefenshin and the other two did not kill them when they were robbed. "You're about to die, yet you're still so arrogant." Long Tu opened his mouth. He couldn't tolerate a nameless person being so arrogant and domineering in front of him. He didn't put him in his eyes at all. His voice was like a dragon's roar, and the void rumbled. The sound waves were like waves of air that swept over and suppressed Du Xiaofu. Humph! Du Xiaofu let out a deep snort. The sound waves reverberated and collided with the former sound waves, shattering them. This scene caused a ripple to appear in Long Tu's ruby-like eyes. Then, he tapped the void with the tip of his foot and waved his arm. In an instant, monstrous crimson flames erupted and condensed into a giant sword. It had a terrifying aura that could sweep through thousands of soldiers and horses. Its aura was shocking as it instantly slashed toward Du Xiaofu. The giant sword slashed the mountain stream and split the cliff. Huge rocks were turned into fine powder, and the ground cracked into ravines. However, Du Xiaofu's figure disappeared from his original spot. Pissed, when Du Xiaofu's figure reappeared, he was already in front of Long Tu. He waved his hand and punched, causing the void to rumble. The space in front of his fist crumbled inch by inch, and it instantly spread to the front of Long Tu. At this moment, Long Tu's expression darkened again. "You're courting death." However, Long Tu didn't back down. His ruby-like eyes were cold as he stared at Du Xiaofu. His figure leaped, and his powerful foot directly stomped on Du Xiaofu's fist. Although Long Tu rarely left the Four Seas, he had been famous for a long time. He had no intention of competing for supremacy in the world. He only wanted to set foot in the Saint Plain and set foot in the ranks of the strongest in the world. However, such a move already proved that he was swift and decisive. He was ruthless and arrogant. He didn't put others in his eyes and was full of arrogance. Boom! The fist and the foot collided. Runes blazed, and crimson flames burned the void, causing a sonorous rumble in the air. Du Xiaofu's figure was shaken back. His footsteps staggered, and he broke the void. After several steps, he stabilized his body. However, his physical body wasn't injured. Chila, Long Tu's body was also shaken back. After several steps, he stomped on the air and stabilized himself. His feet were numb. He stared at Du Xiaofu. His opponent's strength was beyond his imagination. "You have some strength, but it's not enough." Long Tu didn't stop. He couldn't tolerate the person in front of him being so indifferent in front of him. He wanted to kill his opponent as fast as possible. It could also be considered as telling the world that the person who defeated Han Keifeng of legalism was not his opponent. He hadn't fought in the world for too long. He needed a chance to tell the world that he, Long Tu, had returned. This mysterious purple-haired man in front of him was his chance. Boom! Along with those words, Long Tu clenched his fist. His claw distorted the void, and like a dragon claw, it swept towards Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's eyes were cold. He didn't say anything superfluous. He loosened his fist and opened it into a palm. His palm drew a half circle in front of him. Suddenly, a ray of light burst out, penetrating through the sky and neutralizing Long Tu's claw. Attack, deal with Du Gufenshin and Yelu Han. Long Ming was full of confidence as Long Tu attacked. He directly transformed into his true dragon form and rushed towards the seal that enveloped Yelu Han and Du Gufenshin. Everyone's eyes sank. There was no one who didn't fear Yelu Han, Du Gufenshin, and that mysterious purple-haired man. The three of them were too terrifying. They weren't people that anyone could provoke. The three of them have gone too far. Take back the treasures. An expert of the demon vulture race shouted. He wanted to take back the treasures. He directly attacked with Long Ming. Take back the treasures. Those treasures affected everyone's heart. Suddenly, all the experts gritted their teeth and rushed out, bursting out rays of light that reached the sky. Boom! Chi waves surged up to the sky like waves. Numerous experts took action, sweeping towards the seal that enveloped Yelu Han and Du Gufenshin. Rumble! The earth quaked and the mountains shook. Many powerful attacks swept across the seal, causing the seal to crack. The surrounding rocks exploded and cracked. However, the seal was not completely broken. The seal that Du Xiaofu had set up was definitely not something that could be broken so easily. Long Ming roared and his dragon claws tore through the sky. In an instant, there was a deafening lion's roar. The lion seal erupted. Demon vultures rushed out, heavenly snakes coiled around, and fists pierced through the void. Wave after wave of powerful attacks swept towards the seal like a tidal wave. Boom! But at this moment, the void suddenly became violent. In an instant, stormy waves appeared and the sky changed color. A mysterious mighty force descended from the void. Du Xiaofu transformed into a 100-zhang-tall giant. His entire body emitted a misty mist as if millions of mountains fell from the sky. This was the body of the sorcerer god. In the blink of an eye, Du Xiaofu resisted Long Tu's attack and instantly stood in front of the seal. The huge body of the sorcerer god seemed to have traveled through time and space from ancient times. Amidst the surging winds and clouds, the surging power of the sorcerer god resisted the wave-like attacks. Rumble! The surrounding void was filled with endless wind and thunder. Such a violent attack also forced Du Xiaofu's sorcerer god body to take a few steps back. Du Xiaofu intervened. He knew that his seal wouldn't be able to withstand the continuous attacks of Long Ming and the other experts. Once the seal was broken, it would affect Yelu Han and Du Gufenshin a lot. At the critical moment, the two of them might suffer from qi deviation. Kill! The huge body of the sorcerer god was pushed back, but Du Xiaofu waved his hand at the same time. A vast amount of runes surged out like a torrential flood. Rumbling sounds of wind and thunder resounded endlessly. Everywhere it passed, space exploded. Such an attack made the void seem as if there were countless gods and demons chanting. It shook one's soul. Puchi! The sound of vomiting blood rang out. Amidst the surging power of the sorcerer god, many figures exploded. Only the experts of the major forces retreated unscathed. But they were also frightened and in a sorry state. Many of the weaker ones died. Many of their bodies were swept away by the power of the sorcerer god and exploded in midair. Such might shocked everyone present. Looking at the terrifying body of the sorcerer god, the frightening aura that filled the sky rippled out, causing the surrounding experts to stop in their tracks. They were all very fearful of it. The power of the sorcerer god of the scholarly faction. Dragon! Long Tu looked at Du Xiaofu's sorcerer god body and frowned slightly when he recognized that it was the power of the sorcerer god of the scholarly faction. He's not a member of the scholarly faction. He has many tricks up his sleeve. Long Ming sat down and informed Long Air. If this is your trump card, then you're gravely mistaken. Long Tu's voice was still ethereal, but when that ethereal voice entered one's ears, it inexplicably caused a chill to crawl up one's spine. Rumble! Suddenly, the remaining seal in the mountain stream cracked from the inside out. Runes filled the air, and a blazing and terrifying aura and a terrifying baleful aura swept out like a tornado. From the storm, a man in a dark red robe and a man covered in ancient flame armor walked out together. Their eyes were like beams of light as they looked around, causing people to tremble for no reason. These two were the awakened Dugufenshin and Yelu Han. The two of them had already awakened, and the commotion outside couldn't escape their prying eyes. Long Tu is for you. Leave the rest to us. Dugufenshin spoke to Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu had fought against so many experts by himself, protecting Yelu Han and Dugufenshin. Du Xiaofu's eyes blazed with a hint of excitement. All right. Du Xiaofu's sorcerer god body smiled. The surging power of the sorcerer god surged. He no longer had any scruples. Chapter 1937. Long Air snorted, and his figure rushed out like a flash of lightning. In an instant, he transformed into a huge crimson dragon. Raging flames filled the air, and in almost an instant, he charged in front of Du Xiaofu. Boom! Du Xiaofu's sorcerer god body and Long Air's true body clashed, shaking the heavens. Spatial ripples spread out like boiling water. You're all courting death. Dugufenshin attacked. His gaze swept over Long Ming, the heavenly serpent race, the demon vulture race, and the others. His eyes were like a volcano that was about to erupt. Kill! Yelu Han's hair fluttered in the wind, his killing intent sweeping out. The two instantly charged out. These two were not easy to deal with. As supremes, their auras could swallow mountains and rivers. One's killing intent soared to the heavens, the other was like an erupting volcano. Quickly join forces to deal with them. Long Ming shouted. He had already been severely injured by Yelu Han, and now he had been severely injured not long ago. He knew he was no match for Yelu Han and Dugufenshin. Join forces to deal with them. Yelu Han and Dugufenshin had already awakened. The various forces and experts knew they had no other choice. This was also the choice they had made to form an alliance. Loud shouts rang out as they attacked together. Some experts used all their secret treasures, and runes filled the sky. Some demonic beast experts transformed into their true forms, some fire-red demonic lions roared, some demon vultures blotted out the sky, some heavenly serpents coiled in the void, and some giant dragons crossed the sky to suppress Yelu Han and Dugufenshin. Kill! Rumble! Dugufenshin and Yelu Han activated their supreme's power. 6 divine rings appeared in the sky, and heavenly sounds rumbled. Yelu Han and Dugufenshin were not afraid of any of these people in a one-on-one fight. They could deal with them directly. However, at this moment, these people had joined forces and came prepared. They had used secret treasures to form a powerful alliance. Among them, there were quite a few experts at the peak of the Prime Domain realm. There were also quite a few Domain realm experts. With such a lineup, Dugufenshin and Yelu Han did not dare to be careless. Some demonic beasts were burned to ashes by Dugufenshin while others were slashed into pieces by heavenly fiend Yelu Han. Blood rained down from the sky. Dugufenshin and Yelu Han had killed some of them. This made many experts tremble with fear. Those two fellows were definitely gods of death. Rumble! Du Xiaofu and Long Tu's fierce battle caused the void to explode. The crimson dragon soared through the sky. Its dragon claws tore through the sky, and a pitch-black spatial crack appeared. The body of the sorcerer god soared into the sky. Wind and thunder rumbled, as if a demon was chanting. Symbols shone resplendently as they fought intensely. Divine light burst forth from the collision of energy. As the two collided, energy runes erupted like a volcano and swept out in all directions, causing everyone to tremble in fear. Long Air's eyes darkened as his opponent's strength continued to exceed his expectations. As a descendant of the dragons, Long Air was a pure-blooded descendant of the true dragon. But at this time, Long Air had a feeling that his opponent's mortal body was absolutely not inferior to his. The power of the sorcerer god was even stronger than the Confucian powerhouses he had encountered before. Du Xiaofu didn't dare to be careless. Long Air's strength was absolutely above Han Keifei's. But Du Xiaofu didn't fear Long Air, but because he couldn't reveal his identity at this time. He couldn't use his immortal profound body, golden rock wings, blue spirit armor, tyrant fist path, and all his other most powerful techniques. Even the most basic golden rock cultivation method was restricted. He couldn't use it to his heart's content. Rumble. Not too far away, heavenly fiend Yeluhan's body was also covered in a ferocious beast armor. His infernal energy shook the heavens, and a sea of infernal energy roiled in his eyes. Yeluhan wasn't a soft-hearted person. Now that these people had joined forces with Yeluhan's personality, how could he let them go? A boundless sea of infernal energy filled with runes shone. Yeluhan's infernal energy sea and supreme power were activated at the same time. The infernal energy turned corporeal, swallowing everything. Fire Cloud evil god Dugufenshin was shrouded in scarlet flames. Flames shot out from his eyes. His armor emitted an ancient aura. When he attacked, scarlet flames surged like waves, incinerating everything. This scene was very terrifying. Scarlet flames swept out in all directions, like volcanoes erupting. But at this moment, the demon vultures that blotted out the sky, the dragons and heavenly serpents, the fire-red demon lions, and several human powerhouses were not easy to deal with. These attacks were powered by treasures and supported by secret techniques. Yeluhan and Dugufenshin were also suppressed. Dugufenshin and Yeluhan were injured, but the fire-red demon lions, heavenly serpents, demon vultures, and other powerhouses weren't completely victorious. They were all injured. But at this moment, Dugufenshin and Yeluhan's situation was not good. They were suppressed. Yeluhan was very calm. She didn't retreat. Her hair was scattered, filled with infernal energy, and her eyes were deep. Dugufenshin didn't retreat. Instead, he went forward and fought crazily. Void energy surged like waves. Runes shone brightly and strong winds surged. Dugufenshin's ancient armor was dyed red with blood. The demon vultures besieging him didn't gain any advantage. A bloody hole appeared in their wing. Puff! Yeluhan spat out a mouthful of blood, but her infernal energy flourished. Her 6 supreme wheels formed 6 divine rings that enveloped her. Her infernal energy affected space and time. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed as he observed everything around him. There were too many people besieging them, and they were all powerhouses. Even Dugufenshin and Yeluhan couldn't gain any advantage. If they continued fighting, both sides would suffer even more. Boom! Sorcerer power surged. Du Xiaofu's sorcerer body was like a demon god. Every step he took caused the void to tremble and the universe to resonate. The sorcerer power contained profound mysteries. It could freeze space. Du Xiaofu attacked with his full strength. The sorcerer god's power was like boiling water, and a terrifying energy immediately spread out from all directions, bringing with it a tremendous pressure. It seemed to cause the entire space to tremble. Boom! Du Xiaofu slapped out. The sorcerer power transformed into a huge palm that stretched out from the depths of the sky. The palm formed a spatial storm. It was accompanied by a mysterious power that crushed down. A strange phenomenon appeared in the sky. Space shattered inch by inch. A pitch-black spatial vortex was torn apart and enveloped Qi Long Air roared. His dragon eyes were like fireballs that wanted to shoot out. They collided with the palm. Rumble. This collision caused the entire sky to tremble. Runes flickered in the sky and the void exploded. The sorcerer power and scarlet flames turned into runes that filled the sky. Qi Long Air's dragon body was also forced back. His expression changed greatly. His opponent was too strong. Although Long Air didn't use his full strength, if he used his full strength against anyone, it would be a humiliation to him. However, at this moment, Draconic too deeply felt that the other party gave him an unfathomable and unsatisfied feeling. Chapter 1938. The terrifying wind flattened the mountains. In the void, Du Xiaofu's huge body had already disappeared without anyone noticing. Long Tu's expression changed greatly as he raised his head and looked at the void to his left. Rumble! Fiendish aura surged and scarlet flames surged. Dugufenshin and Yeluhan were pushed back again. Their faces were pale, but their battle intent didn't decrease. Chi! A figure suddenly appeared in front of the retreating Du Fenshin and the heavenly fiend Yelu Han. His purple hair fluttered in the wind, and the power of the sorcerer god disappeared from his body. A dazzling white light surged out like a white divine light. At the same time, dozens of dazzling formation flags condensed in his hand. Today is not the time for a long battle. Retreat! At the same time, the experts pounced again. Du Xiaofu threw out the array flags in his hand, and they turned into beams of light that soared into the sky. It's a talisman array. Be careful! The surrounding experts' expressions changed, and they immediately retreated. No one wanted to be trapped by the talisman array. The surrounding experts didn't expect that guy to be a talisman array master. With the purple-haired man's attainments in martial Dao, his attainments in talisman arrays shouldn't be low. Rumble! The sky changed color, and the universe was vast and mighty. A 9-star domain-level talisman array was suddenly set up. The terrifying talisman array covered the sky, and its aura filled the sky. There were shadows of beasts entrenched, and mysterious runes connected together. The terrifying pressure made living beings tremble. This was a defensive array, and he couldn't expose his identity. However, Du Xiaofu had no other choice. He could only rely on the talisman array to escape. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy to escape from Long Air and the group of experts. Moreover, there was legalism, famed clans, and other major forces in the Heavenly U Mountain. Du Xiaofu had to be thorough. Bastard, break the array! Long Air was furious. His dragon roar shook the sky, and he unleashed his dragon's might to break the array. Break the array! The demon eagle that covered the sky, the heavenly snake that entrenched the sky, the fire-red demon lion that roared deafeningly, and the other experts all made their moves. Bang bang bang! The talisman formation erupted with a dazzling radiance. Amidst the wind and thunder, it was like the cries of 10,000 beasts, like the galloping of a magnificent army. In the end, the talisman array was unable to withstand the attacks of Dragon 2 and the others. It began to crack and then shattered, exploding with a loud bang. Rumble! The talisman formation exploded, causing the void to rumble. The shattered talisman symbols were as brilliant as the sun as they swept out in all directions. The resplendent light energy drowned out everything, causing people's souls to tremble. The group of experts all retreated. However, the heavenly fiend Yelu Han, the mysterious purple-haired man, and the fire cloud evil god Du Fenshin had already disappeared. Chase! Long too retracted his body, and his figure turned into a bolt of lightning as he shot out. Chase! The group of experts chased after him. They didn't dare to not give chase. If those three were to escape today, then they would be the unlucky ones in the future. Those three would definitely not let them off. The original mountain stream had been completely destroyed, revealing a huge crater. It was a mess with many corpses on the ground. This time, many experts came from the Alliance, including the second Prince of the Dragons, but in the end, they couldn't do anything to those three. On the contrary, they lost many people. They probably didn't expect such a result. In the deep cave, the light was dim. 3 figures appeared in the cave. They were Du Fenshin, Yelu Han, and Du Xiaofu. They won't be able to gain any advantage in a fight. Yelu Han's complexion was deathly pale. His chest heaved up and down as he panted violently. He was somewhat unwilling to retreat in front of those people. Fighting won't do us any good. Both sides will only suffer. If the legalism people are attracted, then it will be even more troublesome. Du Fenshin retracted the ancient flame armor on his body. His complexion was also deathly pale. He had already retreated. At this moment, he didn't have any intention to fight. He seemed to be thinking about something. In the end, he looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." Du Xiaofu shook his head. He looked around the cave and said, "This place should be safe for the time being. We have to recover as soon as possible." As soon as his voice faded, a ray of light shot out from between Du Xiaofu's eyebrows. It flickered and turned into an entrance that was filled with ancient qi. "We can save some time to recover in here." Du Xiaofu entered the desolate ancient space. Although he wasn't injured, he had consumed a lot of energy. Yelu Han and Du Fenshin were also heavily injured, so they didn't have time to waste. Du Xiaofu could only use the desolate ancient space. Fortunately, Yelu Han and Du Fenshin were unfamiliar with the desolate ancient space. They wouldn't expose their identities. Yelu Han and Du Fenshin lowered their heads and looked at each other. They didn't hesitate and followed Du Xiaofu into the desolate ancient space. This is a treasure, it can affect time. Within the desolate ancient space, Yelu Han's expression changed. He could feel the mysterious changes in this space. His baleful aura could affect time and space, but this space seemed to be able to compress time. This was an incomparably profound intent. Recovering here can save a lot of time. It's not too late to settle some debts later. Du Xiaofu said. He stuffed a lot of spiritual herbs into his mouth and then disappeared into the depths of the desolate ancient space. It wasn't difficult for Du Xiaofu to hide in the desolate ancient space. Some debts will be settled one by one when the time comes. Du Fenshin raised his head slightly. His eyes seemed to contain two volcanoes that could burn everything. A spirit fruit that was suffused with bright light appeared in his hand. This was the earthly flame heavenly fruit that Du Fenshin had seized from the main region expert of the demon vulture clan. It was very beneficial to his cultivation technique. The earthly flame heavenly fruit was stuffed into his mouth. The moment the fist-sized earthly flame heavenly fruit entered his mouth, a blazing light poured down Du Fenshin's throat like lava. Refine. Du Fenshin sat down cross-legged. His hands were constantly forming seals. A red light flashed from his body and his exposed skin was crystal clear. Yelu Han's eyes were dark red as he looked at Du Fenshin. It's about time. Let's go. As Yelu Han muttered these words, a blood-colored mist appeared in his palm. There was a dark, blood-colored talisman fluctuation coming from it. Awu! Awu! Suddenly, a ghostly cry came from the mist. It was like a demon god was roaring. A terrifying evil chi swept out in an instant. Come! Yelu Han's face darkened with a cruel smile. He had been waiting for this day, waiting for the day he could control and refine this treasure. Yelu Han sat down cross-legged. His hands were forming seals. He suddenly opened his mouth and a devouring force gushed out, swallowing the blood-red mist in his palm. Boom! In an instant, a violent evil chi swept out from Yelu Han's body. Chapter 1939. Time passed. Dragon 2 personally led the experts from various factions to attack Fire Cloud evil god Du Fenshin, heavenly fiend Yelu Han, and the mysterious man Fu Xiaodu. The news spread like a storm in Heavenly Yu Mountain, shocking everyone. Looks like Dragon 2 is going to flip out. On the mountain peak, the spiritual chi was oppressive and mist rose. The Taoist Su Yangzi had a smile in his eyes and a calm expression. The entanglement of those people was beneficial to Taoism and had nothing to lose. Du Fenshin and Dragon 2 were not easy to deal with. The more they fought, the fewer opponents there would be to fight for the sacred medicine. However, Su Yangzi was secretly shocked by Du Fenshin and the other two. They were able to escape unscathed after being surrounded by so many experts. Du Fenshin, Yelu Han, and Fu Xiaodu. These three have formed an alliance. It's terrifying. In the abyss, mist rose, and spirit herbs shone. Kong Sansi of the Confucian school narrowed his eyes. That Fu Xiaodu must be related to our school of Confucianism. If we can rope in our school of Confucianism, together with Du Fenshin and Yelu Han, our school of Confucianism will prosper. It's worth it even if we have to become enemies with the dragons and legalism. An old man from the Confucian school had a bright light in his eyes. He was thinking that those three people were too strong. If he could use this opportunity to rope in the Confucian school of Confucianism, it would be able to boost the school of Confucianism. On a cliff, Buddhist light filled the surroundings. There were many Buddhist experts resting here. They are very strong, Heng Luan said, looking into the distance. Let's look for the sacred medicine first. It should be on the main peak of Heavenly Yu Mountain. The ancient monsters there are getting stronger and stronger. Be careful. An old monk said. Whoosh whoosh. Figures accompanied by Buddhist light leaped and left, slowly disappearing into the void. Mountains towered into the clouds, and the surroundings were lush and green. Dragon 2 is also here, a long-robed young man with a sharp face muttered with a gloomy gaze. This person was the number 1 of the younger generation of the Confucian school, Hui Yuan. We've found traces. Dongli Qingqing isn't dead. She should be in the depths right now. She seems to be searching for something. This woman can't be left alive. Otherwise, she'll become an endless source of trouble for us. Beside Hui Yuan, the old man who was the leader of the famed clan sent a voice transmission into Hui Yuan's ears. His gaze did not leave a trace as it swept across the man in white battle robes who was seated cross-legged in the middle of 8 alluring maidservants. We can't make any more mistakes this time. Hui Yuan's eyes flashed with killing intent as a terrifying aura rippled from his body. Not far away, Lian Qingrong, who was sitting cross-legged, opened her eyes slightly. A clear light flickered, and a faint icy aura fluctuated. Brother Su, let's continue our journey. The elder spoke to Lian Qingrong in a very courteous manner. If such a supreme being were to be roped into the famous people, his position in the famous people would rise again, and he would be a powerful helper for the famous people. All right. Lian Qingrong nodded. She stood up and stretched herself. Her eyes were calm. In the misty space, time was derived here, and the void fluctuated. Somewhere, there was a ripple of golden light. The ripple of the golden talisman engravings enveloped a figure who was sitting cross-legged. A domineering and ferocious aura spread out. Screech! The rock's cry pierced through the clouds and cracked the rocks. Golden light shone, and the golden talisman engravings flickered. They arranged themselves behind Du Xiaofu and condensed into the shadow of a golden-winged rock. The shadow of the golden-winged rock wanted to spread its wings and soar into the sky. The terrifying aura of the golden-winged rock clan swept in all directions, enough to make all beasts tremble. After a while, the shadow of the golden-winged rock retracted and turned into the light of the golden talisman engravings. It swept into Du Xiaofu's body, and the golden halo slowly disappeared. Phew! Phew! When everything calmed down, Du Xiaofu exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He opened his tightly shut eyes, and a domineering golden light shot out from his clear eyes. Boom! A vigorous aura swept out from his body, shaking the void. I've gained something. Du Xiaofu retracted his mind, and a slight smile appeared in his eyes. Recently, he had not eaten a lot of precious herbs and spiritual herbs for nothing. He had benefited a lot from every fight. At this moment, Du Xiaofu felt that he had made a lot of progress in the realm of immortality. If he could not be restrained, his combat strength would definitely increase by a lot. Especially in the comprehension of the sorcerer god's power and the Taoist martial arts. Recently, he had been using the Taoist martial arts and the sorcerer god's power, which had made great progress in his comprehension. It's not enough. I have to continue. Although Du Xiaofu was quite satisfied with his current progress, he was not satisfied at all. Stepping into the Saint Realm was his current goal. The Saint Realm experts were the strongest in the world. Crackle! Du Xiaofu stood up, and his body crackled and made a sonorous sound. The domineering golden light that was emitted from his body slowly faded away. Boom! Suddenly, the void in front of him trembled, and a terrifying blazing aura soared into the sky. Du Xiaofu's eyes twitched, and his figure suddenly disappeared. Walala! Scarlet flames filled the void like boiling magma, and it could burn and destroy everything. In the center, Dugfenchen was wearing an ancient flame armor. His body was covered in scarlet flames, and his eyes were like 2 erupting volcanoes. Rumble, wind and thunder trembled, and the energy of heaven and earth gathered crazily from outside the desolate ancient space. It continuously entered Dufenchen's body, causing his aura to skyrocket. Awoo! At the same time, there was a ghostly howl not far away. A monstrous murderous aura swept out in all directions, affecting the energy of heaven and earth in the void and turning into a violent energy tornado. In the center of the energy tornado, there was a man in a dark red robe. His eyes were like two blood moons, and he allowed the energy tornado around him to pour in. A terrifying aura spread out. Rumble. The two of them devoured the energy of heaven and earth at the same time, competing with each other. Their 6 divine halos spread out, causing the void to rumble like thunder. In the entire void, half of the blazing heat could burn everything, and the other half could devour all life. There were also divine halos in the sky, and supreme pressure spread out. Such a scene couldn't be seen by outsiders, or it would definitely shock the world. They have stepped into the true reincarnation cycle. Du Xiaofu appeared in the distance, and his eyes rippled as he looked at everything in front of him. Fire Cloud Evil God Dugufenshin and Heavenly Demon Yeluhan were 2 supreme beings, and there were not many people in the world who could be compared to them. Walala. After stepping into the true reincarnation cycle, the aura of the 2 of them continued to rise. The speed of their aura was also very fast, like a torrential flood, and it didn't have any intention of stopping. Chapter 1940. They must have consumed some rare heavenly treasure. Even Du Xiaofu was astonished by the rising aura. The fact that the 2 of them could make such a violent breakthrough at the reincarnation nirvana stage meant that they must have obtained great benefits. Du Xiaofu secretly guessed that Dugufenshin must have consumed the earthly flame heavenly fruit, which would greatly benefit his cultivation and cultivation. As for Yeluhan, Du Xiaofu guessed that she must have some tricks up her sleeves. Otherwise, even if she had broken through to the reincarnation nirvana stage, she wouldn't have made such a violent breakthrough like Dugufenshin. The energy turbulence in the entire desolate ancient space became more and more intense. Waves of rich energy continuously seeped in from the outside world and surged towards the 2 figures. Walala. Looking from afar, the entire purple hazy space was filled with mottled energy vortexes. It was a magnificent sight. Du Xiaofu raised his brows slightly at the terrifying surge of energy. The amount of energy required was too vast. Chila. With a thought, Du Xiaofu opened the desolate ancient space. Otherwise, the energy from the outside world wouldn't be able to flow in on such a large scale and support the 2 of them to continue their violent breakthrough. Of the 2 sovereigns, one could incinerate all things, while the other could devour all life. Energy surged violently, and the pressure of the world faintly caused Du Xiaofu to feel a little apprehensive. Several hours later, the auras of the 2 of them had reached a new peak. Will the peak of the reincarnation nirvana stage continue to break through to the indestructible realm? This scene made Du Xiaofu flabbergasted. Could it be that these 2 fellows would take the opportunity to break through consecutively? Once they stepped into the indestructible realm, the increase in their strength would be like the difference between heaven and earth. The terrifying auras continued to rise, but soon after, Du Xiaofu was secretly surprised. The auras of the 2 sovereigns were forcefully suppressed and stagnated. The suppression of their auras caused the energy in the space to fluctuate wildly, causing the space to shake on the verge of collapse. They didn't continue to break through. They are still suppressing themselves. Du Xiaofu's gaze couldn't help but tremble. Ordinary cultivators wouldn't be able to resist such temptation and suppress themselves in the face of such a breakthrough. However, these 2 fellows were not only suppressing the increase in their strength, they were also suppressing the increase in their auras. Du Xiaofu knew the purpose of doing this. If he climbed up too quickly, it would not be good for him in the future. When he was cultivating, his big brother Zhen Qingchun and medical elder Du had taught him that a solid foundation was the foundation. It was precisely because of this that Du Xiaofu was even more shocked. These 2 fellows were still able to maintain such a stable foundation at the level of reincarnation. What kind of perseverance was this? It was no wonder that these 2 fellows had sealed themselves back then, just to enter the supreme tomb of the divine domain to fight for the greatest opportunity. These 2 guys are really scary. Du Xiaofu sighed in his heart. The fire cloud evil god Dugufenshin and the heavenly fiend Yeluhan were definitely not inferior to the great snow mountain's descendant Lian Qingrong and the heavenly wolf Lonely Sky Howl. Great perseverance and talent at the same time. Such people were the most terrifying. As the 2 of them forcefully suppressed their auras, The surging energy storm in the surroundings began to distort. Then, as if countless bombs had been thrown into it, it directly exploded in the center. Bang 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 bang. A muffled sound exploded in the ancient desolate space, as if it had caused the world to shake. It was deafening, and it made Du Xiaofu sway. The terrifying energy in the void was like a downpour. Then, everything gradually calmed down. The divine ring that was like a divine fire, the supreme power, the blazing flames and the overflowing baleful aura, everything disappeared. Only in the void, the two tall men had their eyes closed. The space was silent. Du Xiaofu looked at the two men in the distance, his clear eyes rippling. Under Du Xiaofu's gaze, the scarlet-robed man slowly opened his eyes. His body was as straight as a javelin. A terrifying blazing aura with a majestic aura erupted from his body, like 100,000 volcanoes erupting at the same time. It rushed into the void and shook the entire ancient desolate space. Boom! The scarlet-robed man stood in the void. His figure moved slightly, but the terrifying blazing aura had already caused the void to shake. He's been reborn again. It's the effect of the earthly flame heavenly fruit. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. He could clearly feel that the aura on Dugufengchen's body had undergone a substantial transformation. Even if the degree of transformation was not the same, it was definitely a rebirth. This kind of transformation was not only in terms of cultivation level, but also in his body. Du Xiaofu guessed that the earthly flame heavenly fruit that Dugufengchen had consumed had taken effect, allowing Dugufengchen's cultivation technique to improve again. Such a change was like the difference between a domain realm cultivator and a reincarnation nirvana realm cultivator. They were at the same level, but the two were completely different. Boom! Suddenly, a monstrous baleful aura swept out not far away. The scarlet-robed man raised his head slightly. When he opened his eyes, it was as if a sea of baleful aura had erupted, and a wave of baleful aura swept through the void. The baleful aura was so strong that it filled the void. This kind of baleful aura made Du Xiaofu feel a little shocked. The aura of the two terrifying men lasted for a while before it finally calmed down again. Du Xiaofu's mouth curved into a smile. These two fellows really had terrifying perseverance. They had suppressed their rising cultivation level. They were at the peak of the reincarnation nirvana realm, but they had forcefully suppressed their cultivation level to the middle stage of the reincarnation nirvana realm. However, one could clearly feel that although the two of them had suppressed their cultivation level, the aura on their bodies was undoubtedly more solid. There was a terrifying leap in the degree of substance. These two fellows had suppressed their cultivation level, but their combat strength was not necessarily suppressed. In the void, the two men stretched their bodies. Cracking sounds came from their bones as they exhaled turbid air. They were very comfortable. Dugufengchen clenched his fists and felt everything in his body. Only he knew how great the benefits he had obtained were. A trace of fighting spirit surged out of his eyes as he said softly, "It's time to settle some debts." Yes, it's time to settle some debts. The corners of Yelu Han's mouth curved into a smile as he felt everything in his body. Baleful aura spread out from the surface of his body, causing the void to distort. At this moment, the baleful aura could shatter the void around him with just a thought. Congratulations on your breakthrough. Du Xiaofu's figure landed beside the two of them as he looked at them and said with a smile. Thanks. Dugufengchen looked at Du Xiaofu and said these two words. He knew that if it wasn't for this guy in front of him, he wouldn't have been able to obtain the earthly flame heavenly fruit, and he wouldn't have been able to achieve such a great breakthrough. Chapter 1941. It doesn't have much to do with me. Du Xiaofu smiled indifferently, then looked at Dugufengchen and Yelu Han. But it seems like we're in a bit of trouble now. There are many people coming and their cultivation bases aren't low. Although they were in the desolate ancient space, Du Xiaofu wasn't careless. He had set up a trap outside and discovered that many experts were coming. It must be Dugufengchen and Yelu Han's breakthrough that caused a huge commotion outside. Therefore, experts were attracted. It was very likely that it was Long Air and the others, but Du Xiaofu couldn't be sure since he was in the desolate ancient space. Is it them? Come, Now is the time to settle the score. Dugu Fenshin said, flames dancing in his eyes. He had broken through and stepped into the true reincarnation nirvana realm. He had even reached the middle stage of reincarnation nirvana realm. If they met the demon vulture race and sky snake race again, they would definitely be able to suppress them. It's good that we don't have to look for them. Yelu Han's eyes were dark red, filled with coldness. If they met the sky snake race, demon vulture race, fire demon lion race and the others, it would save them a lot of effort. Let's go and see who it is. Du Xiaofu also relaxed a lot. Although he couldn't be sure if it was Long Air and the others, even if they met them, Yelu Han and Dugu Fenshin had both broken through and wouldn't be as miserable as before. As long as he didn't expose his identity, the three of them would be enough to fight. Chi. The three figures suddenly disappeared from the desolate ancient space. When they reappeared, they were already in the cave. The desolate ancient space was retracted and filled with hazy light. Du Xiaofu stored it in his Naiwen palace between his eyebrows. At this moment, in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen palace, there was a sparkling and translucent purple nine-petaled lotus. It was as if it was formed from the world's most perfect purple spiritual jade, natural and magnificent. In the middle of the purple lotus, there was a smooth lotus platform. It was spotless and emitted a mist and an ancient aura. The Yuan spirit of the redbone horse monkey sat cross-legged on the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian. His eyes were closed, and complex lightning aura fluctuated around him. Oh! The beast's roar shook the forest and reverberated in all directions. Not far from the cave, the sky changed color and the void was covered. There were huge demonic beasts towering over the mountain peaks and valleys. There were ancient vicious birds spreading their wings and covering the sky, occupying the mountain forests. They blocked the light, causing the sky to be dusky. However, dazzling energy radiance carried by various demonic beasts filled the air. A terrifying aura filled the entire area. Du Xiaofu, Dugu Fenshin, and Yelu Han appeared on top of a boulder outside the cave. They looked around at the numerous demonic beasts, then lowered their heads to look at each other in surprise. It's not Long Air. It's one of those ancient demonic beasts. Also, who is that person? Looking at those demonic beasts, Dugu Fenshin was flabbergasted. These demonic beasts had nothing to do with Long Tu. However, Dugu Fenshin wasn't unfamiliar with them. These demonic beasts were none other than the ancient demonic beasts that they had seen on their way here. In the forest around them, there was the leader of the ancient demonic beasts that had fought against the great domain realm expert of the demon vulture clan. There was also the flood dragon that had fought against the fiery red demonic lion clan's expert and guarded the 3 lives golden lotus. At this moment, those demonic beasts had gathered together. Pairs of ferocious eyes were staring at Du Xiaofu's group. A terrifying aura filled the air. However, what surprised Dugu Fenshin, Yelu Han, and Du Xiaofu the most wasn't how those demonic beasts had gathered together. Instead, it was the fact that there were many human figures standing on the backs of those ancient demonic beasts. There were more than 10 young men and women. Those were extraordinary ancient demonic beasts. However, at this moment, they had submitted to them and become their mounts. Very strong. Yelu Han's gaze swept over them. His dark red eyes slightly trembled. With his eyesight, how could he not see that those young men and women were extraordinary? They were all absolute experts. Du Xiaofu's gaze was also fixed on the head of the flood dragon that had been guarding the 3 lives golden lotus. The flood dragon looked down with its ferocious eyes. Above its head, there was a green light spreading out. A man who looked to be in his 30s and wore a green battle robe was staring at Du Xiaofu and the other 2. He said, "Hand over the precious medicine and I will spare your lives." His voice wasn't loud. It was calm and without ripples. However, when such a voice fell in the ears of Du Xiaofu's group, their divine souls couldn't help but tremble. It was as if their vitality had been sucked out. So strange. The 3 of them were startled. They immediately activated their defensive techniques, and each of them had their own means. If one's cultivation base wasn't strong enough, just this voice alone would be enough to make one suffer a great loss. Based on what? Based on what you said. Dugu Fenshin said. He was originally a strong person. Originally, he had tolerated long air and the others. Now that he had made a breakthrough and was about to seek revenge, he naturally wouldn't back down when encountering such a strong man. The man in green battle robe was calm but had an absolute strength. He stood on the head of the flood dragon and pointed his finger at Dugufenshin. He said, "With my strength, I can kill all of you." As soon as his voice fell, a green light surged out from the man's body. It was as if he was in a green sea. His aura was exuberant and powerful. He could look disdainfully at everyone. Then let's see if you're strong enough." Dugufenshin had just made a breakthrough and was originally a battle-hungry person. How could he be convinced? As soon as his voice fell, his feet tapped on the rock and blazing Xian Qi gushed out. His figure soared into the sky. Boom! At the same time, Dugufenshin didn't hold back his strength at the middle stage of the reincarnation nirvana realm. It caused the void to rumble and a scarlet flame appeared. It condensed on his fist and violently smashed towards the man in green battle robe on the flood dragon's head. Fire Cloud Evil God Dugufenshin made his move. He was powerful and shocking. He didn't hold back at all. He wanted to test his strength after making a breakthrough and also wanted to directly suppress the man in green battle robe. He wanted to suppress his arrogance and strength. Rumble, the man in green battle robe made his move. He waved his hand and a palm shot out. Resplendent green light erupted and illuminated the mountain forest. It was calm and carried a kind of aura that was absolutely not inferior to Dugufenshin's. A fist and a palm collided, but it didn't cause too much of a muffled sound of energy. Only the sound of energy being devoured was heard in the void. That palm seemed to be able to devour everything. It actually devoured the power of Dugufenshin's fist and then ruthlessly swept towards the former's fist. Not good, we're in trouble. Yelu Han seemed to have seen something. His expression changed and his figure instantly disappeared from the spot. Chi-La green light erupted from the palm and overflowed into the sky. A terrifying energy swept out, causing Dugufenshin's figure to retreat in the air. He only stabilized his body after a few dozen feet. His face was pale and his eyes were filled with astonishment. Dugufenshin was pushed back, directly pushed back. His opponent didn't even move an inch on his mount. This kind of defeat was too obvious. Rumble! A heavenly sound resounded in the void. 6 divine rings appeared in the sky and Yelu Han's figure appeared. There were 6 divine rings that were like divine flames in the sky. That was the symbol of a nirvana sovereign. It brought with it a vast aura. There was also a murderous aura that filled the sky. The void rumbled as murderous aura surged like a tide. The nirvana sovereign's power was like a mountain flood that swept across the sky. Endless rays of light erupted in the void and intertwined with each other, boiling the void and devouring everything. Heavenly Sha Yelu Han had made his move. During this period of time, he had formed an absolute tacit understanding with Dugufenshin and Du Xiaofu during the fight for the heavenly treasures. As soon as he felt that Dugufenshin was in a bad situation, he immediately attacked with his full strength. Such a terrifying attack caused the young men and women on the back of the demonic beasts to be shocked. The eyes of the man in azure battle armor on the flood dragon also fluctuated violently. Nirvana Sovereign's power, but it's a pity that you're only a Nirvana Sovereign. Although he didn't look down on Yi Lui anymore, the man in azure battle robes only said this sentence. His figure was like a deity as he soared into the sky. A majestic aura gushed out from his body, like the sound of wind and thunder echoing in all directions. He raised his arm and punched out, causing a deep green hole to appear in the void. A cold azure light surged as it collided with Yelu Han. Bang 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 bang, the void exploded. Murderous aura filled the sky. Green light swept out in all directions and runes filled the sky. Rumble, the forest in the surroundings exploded in succession. The ground was densely covered in ravines, the sea of trees rose and fell for thousands of miles, and pitch-black spatial cracks hung in the void. It was a terrifying scene. Such a collision could move mountains and overturn seas. Crackle, Yelu Han's figure was sent flying through the shattered void. He stomped on the ground and only stabilized himself 100 meters away with a shocked expression on his face. As for the man in azure battle armor, he had only taken 2 steps back. Du Xiaofu was unable to maintain his calm in the face of such an extraordinary and powerful man. Although the fire cloud evil god Du Fenshin hadn't revealed his supreme strength, his cultivation technique had improved once more. He was using his full strength after breaking through. At the very least, he was probably able to fight against an ordinary mid-stage Overlord realm expert. The heavenly Sha Yelu Han's Nirvana realm energy and murderous aura intertwined. He was also using his full strength at the Nirvana realm. It could be said that an existence like Yelu Han was completely capable of fighting opponents above their level. However, both of them had still been defeated in a single strike by the man in azure battle armor. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but be shocked by this. Indestructible, supreme aura. It seems to be the unfettered ripple-treading steps. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed and his pupils constricted rapidly. Du Xiaofu sensed an indestructible aura from the man in azure battle armor. Although the man in azure battle armor hadn't revealed his supreme strength, he was definitely a supreme Nirvana realm expert. What surprised Du Xiaofu even more was that the movement technique the man in azure battle armor had executed was as swift as a god. It was definitely traces of the unfettered ripple-treading steps. Chapter 1942. After being repelled in one move, Du Fenshin and Yelu Han didn't attack again. The young man in azure battle robes had deeply shocked them both. How could Du Fenshin and Yelu Han not understand how strong their opponent was? Everything in the Heavenly Yu Mountain doesn't belong to you. If you want to live, hand over everything you've taken from the Heavenly Yu Mountain. The young man in azure battle robes looked at Du Xiaofu and the other two. His hair was also azure as he stood calmly with the enormous flood dragon behind him hovering in the air. His imposing manner was one of absolute supremacy, capable of swallowing mountains and rivers and looking down on the world. Heavenly treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. Du Xiaofu's figure swept out. As soon as he finished speaking, profound energy rippled beneath his feet. His figure moved erratically in the air like a deity, turning into an afterimage as he instantly arrived in front of the young man in azure battle robes. He waved his hand and drew an arc in the air. Instantly, rays of light burst out and densely covered the sky. At this moment, the man in azure battle robes who had been calm all this time suddenly exclaimed in surprise. His eyes rippled with astonishment as his footwork suddenly changed. He actually disappeared in front of Du Xiaofu in an instant. Du Xiaofu withdrew his hand seal and raised his eyes. At the same time, his footwork also changed and his figure disappeared in the air. Swish, swish. In an instant, the two figures appeared in the air and disappeared again at lightning speed. Just like that, they intersected and flashed again. At this moment, the two figures were also drifting in the air like deities, free and unfettered. The two figures seemed to be able to merge with the space as they moved gracefully. The gazes of the dozen young men and women on the ancient demonic beast mounts around them suddenly turned astonished. Du Fenshin and Yelu Han stood together, looking at the two intertwining silhouettes in the sky. They were also very doubtful and shocked. It wasn't difficult for Du Fenshin and Yelu Han to see that the two people were using the same movement technique. That movement technique wasn't ordinary, it was all-encompassing and mysterious. Swish. Suddenly, the man in cyan armor appeared in the air. He stopped using his movement technique and asked, "How do you know this movement technique?" Du Xiaofu's figure appeared. He stared at the man in the cyan battle robe, his eyes fluctuating. He had already determined that the technique his opponent was using was the free steps on ripples. He said, "It was taught by a friend." "How did you know it?" The man in cyan armor didn't reply. He just kept looking at Du Xiaofu. His eyes flickered with light. Whoosh! Suddenly, the man in the blue battle suit flew back to the head of the dragon mount. He waved his hand and said, "Let's go." Whoa! Immediately, the surrounding ancient demonic beasts roared. Their fierce eyes glowed. Following this shocking commotion, All of them rushed into the sky and left. Du Xiaofu and the other two were the only ones left in the chaotic forest. Du Xiaofu hadn't expected something like this to happen. He didn't know why the man in the green battle robe had suddenly left. His movement technique is the same as yours. Did he leave because of that? Yelu Han landed beside Du Xiaofu. Her eyes were still filled with shock. I don't know either. Du Xiaofu shook his head. He was also guessing in his heart. Who are these people? They shouldn't be nameless people. Dugu Fenshin said. His face was slightly pale. That man in cyan battle robe was so extraordinary, but he had never heard of him before. Such a person definitely wouldn't be nameless. Could it be that there have always been people in the Heavenly Yu Mountain? Suddenly, Dugu Fenshin said. His eyes fluctuated violently. Such words made Du Xiaofu and Yelu Han's expression change. For such a mysterious and powerful man, the young men and women around him must be extraordinary as well. It was not strange for them to think that they were originally from the Heavenly Yu Mountain since they used the ancient demon beasts as their mounts. This is the Heavenly Devil battlefield. Are they really from the Heavenly Yu Mountain? After pondering, Yelu Han had some doubts. After all, this was the Heavenly Devil battlefield. Uff! Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and said, there are ancient demonic beasts in the Heavenly Yu Mountain. Maybe there are people here. Then, Dugu Fenshin's face was filled with shock. His voice trembled as he said, if there are people in the Heavenly Yu Mountain, wouldn't they have lived from the ancient times until now? Impossible. Any one of those ancient demonic beasts can kill us with a single finger. They don't look like they have cultivated for a long time. Therefore, it's unlikely that they are the ancient demonic beasts. Yelu Han shook her head. That makes sense. Dugu Fenshin didn't refute Yelu Han's words, but he was still shocked. He said, if that's the case, those people might be the descendants of those ancient demonic beasts. It's rumored that many ancient demonic beasts were sealed in the Heavenly Devil battlefield. From the ancient times until now, they have left their descendants in the Heavenly Yu Mountain. How powerful were those ancient demonic beasts? That's why these young people are so terrifying. Very likely. Yelu Han nodded and then looked at Du Xiaofu, who was deep in thought. Anyway, we'll know when the time comes. However, I hope that we won't encounter those people again. Otherwise, it'll be really troublesome. Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly. Although they didn't fight directly, Du Xiaofu knew that if he fought with the man in azure battle clothes, it would be impossible for him to escape without exposing his identity. How long have we been in there? Could it be that the sacred herbs have already been taken? Yelu Han asked. They had spent a long time in there to break through. She was worried that the sacred herbs in the Heavenly Yu Mountain had already been taken. We haven't been in there for long, but we have to inquire about the situation. Du Xiaofu said. They had spent a long time in the desolate ancient space, but it was only a little more than a day outside. However, this made Du Xiaofu secretly worried about Dongli Qingqing's situation. The three of them left and disappeared from the scene. With their cultivation and strength, it didn't take long for them to inquire about the sacred herbs. At least from the information they obtained, Du Xiaofu knew that no one had obtained the sacred herbs. Now, all the major forces and experts had entered the depths of the Heavenly Yu Mountain. It was rumored that the sacred herbs were on the main peak of the Heavenly Yu Mountain. Let's go and join in the fun. If there really is a sacred herb, it'll be obtained by the fated ones. Du Xiaofu said, his clear eyes deep. The three of them went into the depths of the Heavenly Yu Mountain. Along the way, they obtained a lot of fragmented information. It was said that a group of mysterious young men and women had appeared. They rode on ancient demonic beasts and defeated many experts. However, they didn't kill them. They only took the sacred herbs that the experts obtained. That group of young men and women were too strong. They were invincible and invincible. They had already caused a huge commotion. It's them. Du Xiaofu and the other two frowned. Such a group of mysterious young men and women was definitely the group that had fought not long ago. It was possible that they were the descendants of the ancient experts in the Heavenly Yu Mountain. Chapter 1943. Be careful of those people. The three of them furrowed their brows. especially Yelu Han and Dugufenshin. They had personally fought with the leading man, so they knew how terrifying his strength was. He hadn't even used his full strength, but he had already defeated them. Swoosh, swoosh. The three of them continued forward, moving as fast as lightning. Du Xiaofu relied on the bloodline soul of the scarlet demonic horse monkey to find and pluck many of the treasured herbs hidden in secret places along the way. Some of the treasured herbs were guarded by ancient demonic beasts, but they could not stop the three of them. There are treasured herbs ahead. In the sky, the mountains below overlapped and the sea of trees rose and fell. Du Xiaofu's figure swooped down, instantly leaping into the mountain range. From the senses of the scarlet demonic horse monkey's primordial spirit, Du Xiaofu found an extraordinary spirit herb. Moo, on a cliff, on a mountain ridge, a green bull that was as large as a mountain peak was fighting a black-clothed young man. Its horn was sharp, and it was covered in fiery runes. Bang, bang, bang. The green bull was terrifying. Its mountain-like body could sweep in all directions. Its four hooves crushed boulders, causing the ground to crack and explode. The flames on its horn shot out like a cannonball, capable of blowing up a mountain. However, the black-clothed young man was surrounded by a dense nether energy that seemed to overflow from the underworld, seeping through the void. Just the aura that permeated the air was enough to make one's soul shiver and palpitate. His entire body shivered. He engaged in a fierce battle with the bull. His silhouette changed unpredictably in the void, and he moved with ease. Bang! The black-clothed young man's foot landed heavily on the back of the giant bull, sending it flying and causing it to spit out blood. Swish! In the next instant, the black-clothed young man's figure pounced toward a cliff in front of him. Mist filled the air, and a green vine climbed up the cliff. It bore a dark green spirit fruit that rippled with energy and flashed with talisman runes. Swish! Just as the black-clothed young man was about to reach the spirit fruit, a figure had already broken through the air in front of the cliff. "You're courting death." The black-robed man's expression changed at the same time. He immediately discovered that figure. His eyes shot out a dark aura as he sped up. A claw directly tore through the void. "You're not enough." However, at the same time, a scorching aura filled the air. A man in red appeared in front of the man in black. His fist, which was covered in flames, collided with the former's claw. Boom! The void trembled, and the chi of the underworld and the scarlet flames surged. The entire cliff shook, and huge rocks tumbled down. The two figures were also knocked back at the same time. Dang dang! The black-clothed man and the red-clothed man were forced back over a dozen steps at the same time. Their eyes lifted as they revealed a surprised expression. On the cliff, a figure had already taken the emerald spirit fruit. The void fluctuated, and a dark red figure appeared beside the red-robed man at the same time. Dugufenshin, Yelu Han. The black-clothed man spoke as his gaze darkened. How could he not recognize Dugufenshin and Yelu Han? In the divine domain, he had fought with Dugufenshin. At this moment, he was already close to the middle stage of the reincarnation nirvana realm. He didn't expect Dugufenshin to have also reached this stage. Nothing much. Heaven and earth treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. Dugufenshin looked at the black-clothed man. The surprise in his eyes disappeared, and a faint smile appeared on his face. The black-clothed man in front of him was an old acquaintance. Dark Hell Emperor, Nether Demon. Du Xiaofu kept the spirit fruit in his bag. He looked at the black-robed man who was surrounded by an aura of the underworld and recognized him. He had seen him before in the tomb of the Supreme Being in the divine domain. He was a demon spirit, the Emperor of Dark Hell, Ming Yao. The Dark Hell Emperor, Nether Demon, Great Snow Mountain's successor, Lian Qingrong, Heavenly Wolf Gu Tian Shao, Heavenly Demon Yi Lui Han, Undead Spirit Demon Dong Fong Qing Mu, Fire Cloud Evil God Dugfen Tian, and the others were all equally famous. At this moment, the gigantic ancient barbaric bull that was kicked away by Nether demons saw that the spirit fruit had been picked. It roared furiously, and its horn was covered in scarlet flames. It rushed out from behind Nether demon as if it had gone berserk. Nether demon's face was gloomy. His eyes turned cold and strange black runes filled the air. He didn't even turn his head. He waved his arm, and a terrifying energy wave engulfed the ancient barbaric bull. Bang bang bang. The ancient barbaric bull's body was swept away by a tsunami, and its gigantic body was sent flying again. It crashed into a mountain, destroying a towering tree and shattering the mountain. It spat out a large mouthful of blood and didn't dare to move forward again. Dugu Fenshin, Yelu Han, my patience is limited. Hand over the clear spirit fruit. Nether Demon looked at Dugu Fenshin, Yelu Han, and Du Xiaofu. Strange black runes rippled around his body, and his eyes looked as if they could see through space. His deep black eyes seemed to contain the netherworld realm, and it made people's hair stand on end and their souls scatter. Dugu Fenshin was about to speak. How could he hand over the treasure that was already in his hands? He wasn't afraid of Nether Demon alone, not to mention there were 3 of them. This wasn't the first time the 3 of them had done something like this. Just as Dugu Fenshin was about to speak, Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered. He stepped forward, looked at Nether Demon, and said with a faint smile, "If you want the clear spirit fruit, it's very simple. Ally with us. You're welcome to join us." Ally. Hearing this, Dugu Fenshin and Yelu Han were stunned. But soon after, a smile appeared on their faces. If they could get Nether Demon to join them, their strength would increase greatly. Ah! Nether Demon laughed wildly. His voice spread across the void, and the nether chi fluctuated. Ally? What qualifications do you have to ally with me? You're just humans. Nether Demon stopped laughing and looked at Du Xiaofu's group with disdain. He was a demon spirit and didn't put humans in his eyes. He didn't even associate with Dugu Fenshin and Yelu Han. Demon spirits had their own pride. Du Xiaofu's face gradually darkened. He glanced sideways and said to Dugu Fenshin and Yelu Han, "This guy should have a lot of treasures on him. Are you guys interested?" Dugu Fenshin and Yelu Han were stunned. This Fu Xiaodu was really strong. He clearly wanted to snatch the Nether Demon away. Then, the corners of their mouths rose into a smile that wasn't a smile. "I think it's not bad." Du Fenshin looked at Nether Demon, and there was a malicious smile in his eyes. Back then, when he fought Nether Demon in the Divine Domain, he didn't gain any advantage. Now that there was such an opportunity and Nether Demon didn't put him in his eyes, Dugu Fenshin naturally wouldn't miss it. Chapter 1944. Yelu Han didn't say anything, but his murderous eyes were already fixed on the Nether Demon. Seeing Du Xiaofu and the other two's gazes, the Nether Demon was stunned, but then a cold smile appeared on his face. He looked straight at Du Xiaofu and the other two and said, "What? Do you want to come at me together?" Dugu Fenshin snorted. His hair was disheveled and dyed red by the blazing aura. It was as if flames were burning. His eyes contained a volcano as he directly attacked the Nether Demon. Rumble, the scarlet flames in the void surged violently like waves. Dugu Fenshin attacked again, wanting to fight the Nether Demon again. The ancient flame armor on his body had already covered him. Dugu Fenshin attacked with all his strength. Scarlet flames surged and spread. It was as if he was in a dazzling sun. The blazing light was released along with the mysterious runes, causing an inexplicable power to appear in the void, imprisoning the void. A fist violently blasted towards the Nether Demon. The power of the fist was like a falling meteor. The light rushed into the void. The Nether Demon wasn't afraid. He had already fought with Dugu Fenshin more than once or twice. In the past few years, he had great opportunities and his cultivation had improved a lot. However, he didn't expect Dugu Fenshin to improve so much. He was a demon and couldn't take advantage of Dugu Fenshin. He was already a little unhappy in his heart. At this moment, he naturally used all his strength to suppress Dugu Fenshin. Boom! The Nether Demon's nether chi surged like a messenger of hell. He stepped forward, as if he had opened the gate to the underworld. The world trembled and the universe resonated. The fist collided, shaking the void. Scarlet flames and nether chi swept out in all directions. Chila! Two figures were knocked back from the void. The void behind them surged. There were torch-like eyes. This time, the two seemed to be on par again. Boom! The void trembled as a baleful aura overflowed into the sky. It was vast and surging like a mountain torrent. Endless rays of light erupted in the void and devoured everything. The heavenly Shy Yelu Han attacked. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the Nether Demon, who hadn't stabilized himself yet. His murderous chi condensed into a saber that affected space and time as it slashed towards the Nether Demon. The Nether Demon's eyes darkened. He stomped his foot on the air and stabilized his momentum. A majestic aura gushed out from his body. The Nether Demon's aura surged and turned into a beam of light that collided with Yelu Han. Crack, crack. The void was cracking apart as baleful energy overflowed into the heavens. The energy of the underworld swept out in all directions, and symbols filled the sky. The ground below cracked apart, and a sea of trees rose and fell. There were even pitch-black spatial cracks hanging in all directions. This scene was very terrifying. Yelu Han's figure was knocked back, and the Nether Demon was also knocked back. His feet missed the air, and he was in a slightly sorry state before he was able to stabilize himself. However, the corners of Nether Demon's mouth curled into a disdainful arc. He looked at Dugufenshin, Yelu Han, and Du Xiaofu and sneered, "You want to attack together? But it seems like all of you aren't enough." Chi La. As Nether Demon's voice fell, there was a spatial fluctuation in the void. "Someone is coming." Du Xiaofu and the other two raised their brows at the same time. The three of them immediately looked at the void in front of them. Chi La. In the fluctuating void, a young man in green clothes suddenly walked out from Nether Demon's side. He was surrounded by green light, and his charm was peerless. His eyes were vast. With the appearance of this man, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the surrounding void became abundant. An ancient aura filled the air, and the messy ground below suddenly became green and full of vitality. Undead spirit demon Dongfang Qingmu. When this person appeared, Yelu Han, Dugufenshin, and Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled. Du Xiaofu also recognized this person. Back in the divine domain, this undead spirit demon Dongfang Qingmu was together with the Dark Hell Emperor, Nether Demon. Nether Demon was stalling for time. He was waiting for Dongfang Qingmu. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. No wonder Nether Demon was acting strangely and wasn't afraid when facing the three of them. It turned out that he was deliberately stalling for time. He was waiting for Dongfang Qingmu. They had also come to the Heavenly Yu Mountain to form an alliance. When the undead spirit demon appeared, his eyes were vast as he looked at Du Xiaofu and the others from afar. A dense vitality spread out from his body. There was no need for Nether Demon to say anything, and they already knew what was going on. "I said, you guys are still not enough." Nether Demon sneered as he looked at Dugufenshin and the other two. With Dongfang Qingmu here, the three of them wouldn't be able to do anything to them. Yelu Han and Dugufenshin's eyes darkened. Dongfang Qingmu's sudden appearance and his aura didn't seem to be any weaker than Nether Demon's. These two guys were the most difficult demon spirits to deal with. Although the three of them weren't afraid of these two, they should be able to take advantage of them. After all, they knew that no one was weaker than Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon. However, it would be difficult for the three of them to rob Nether Demon. "Another one, huh?" Du Xiaofu said softly. After a moment of astonishment, he wasn't worried but happy. He said to Yelu Han and Dugufenshin excitedly, "I'll leave Dongfang Qingmu to you guys. I'll deal with Nether Demon alone." Looking at Du Xiaofu's excited expression, Dugufenshin and Yelu Han couldn't help but frown. The undead spirit demon, Dongfang Qingmu, had arrived. That guy seemed to have a double blessing. "No problem." But Dugufenshin and Yelu Han nodded. It wasn't a problem for the two of them to deal with Dongfang Qingmu. Neither of them were afraid of Dongfang Qingmu. If the two of them joined hands, they could definitely suppress Dongfang Qingmu. However, Yelu Han and Dugufenshin were puzzled. Could it be that Fu Xiaofu could really rob Nether Demon alone? Nether Demon's face was gloomy. He had heard some legends about the strange purple-haired man who robbed the three of them. He didn't seem to be weaker than Yelu Han and Dugufenshin. However, this guy was so arrogant that he didn't put him in his eyes. "You're very arrogant." The Nether Demon stared directly at Du Xiaofu. His eyes began to glow with a deep, black color. Black runes surged within them. Just a glance was enough to restrain one's soul. Just a glance was enough to injure one's primordial spirit. Hand over the Qingkuan pouch. Otherwise, you'll regret it. Du Xiaofu looked at Nether Demon and pointed at him. His long blue hair draped over his shoulders. He was calm and domineering. Dongfang Qingmu raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard Du Xiaofu's words and attitude. He couldn't help but glance at Du Xiaofu a few more times. You've succeeded in making me remember you. The Nether Demon looked at Du Xiaofu. His deep, black eyes flickered with light. His nether chi was awe-inspiring, and a chill surged through the void. Remember how I beat you up? As Du Xiaofu's voice faded, his foot tapped on the ground. His figure drifted like a god, leaving a trail of afterimages as he pounced on Nether Demon. Accompanied by a vast invisible energy that froze the void, a handprint instantly appeared in front of Nether Demon. Chapter 1945. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio, Human, you're too arrogant. A dark energy soared into the sky. The Nether Demon shook his arm, and a terrifying dark energy erupted from his body. His hair danced wildly, and his eyes seemed to open the gates of hell. Bang! The Nether Demon blocked Du Xiaofu's palm print with a muffled sound. Energy swept out in all directions, and the dark energy surged wildly, shattering a large area of space. Du Xiaofu's expression was inwardly stern. The Nether Demon was too powerful. This terrifying dark energy seemed to surge out from hell, and it could corrode the body and primordial spirit. However, Du Xiaofu's immortal Xian body and true Peng realm body could withstand it. His primordial spirit with several types of spiritual lightning in his Niwen palace could also remain unharmed. The Nether Demon's expression was cold, but his heart was pounding. He felt that his palm was a little numb, and what shocked him even more was that the mysterious human in front of him didn't seem to be affected by his dark energy at all. Rumble. At the same time, in the void not far away, Dugufenshin and Yelu Han had joined forces to fight the undead spirit demon, Dongfang Qingmu. Blazing flames, monstrous baleful aura, and resplendent azure light intertwined with each other in an instant, causing the void to become chaotic. Dongfang Qingmu's eyes were azure, and his body was dazzling. He was like a god descending to the world, and he wasn't afraid of Yelu Han and Dugufenshin. Dugufenshin and Yelu Han didn't say a word and directly attacked. The two of them joined forces, and they didn't have any carelessness. They weren't afraid of the undead spirit demon, Dongfang Qingmu, but they knew that he was an absolutely terrifying existence. Woo-woo, the dark energy surged, and the Nether Demon once again pounced at Du Xiaofu. The dark light around his body hummed, making people tremble. Sorcerer God's power. Du Xiaofu wasn't afraid. Sorcerer God's power surged out, causing the void to tremble. It was as if a god or demon was chanting, and the dark energy also became resplendent, as if it had come from ancient times. Runes filled the sky, and blazing light flooded the void. Confucian school? The Nether Demon was surprised. That was the Sorcerer God's power of the Confucian school. Boom! Du Xiaofu made his move. Resplendent runes bloomed, and the power of the Sorcerer God seemed to have traversed the past and present, filling the sky. The dazzling light shook heaven and earth, as if a new world was opening. Umph! The Nether Demon's eyes sank as he formed a seal with his hand. Deep and pitch-black talisman markings covered the sky as his figure instantly vanished. At the same time, a vast river stretched across the void. The river water was strange like ink, and the chi of the underworld seemed to overflow from the 9 hells. Just the aura that emanated from this terrifying and strange nether river was enough to make one's soul tremble and soul tremble. This was the Black Nether Hell River, the true body of the Nether Demon. The origin of the Black Underworld Prison River was mysterious. It was rumored that countless ancient almighty experts had been buried here. In the end, the Black Underworld Prison River gave birth to intelligence and created the Black Underworld Emperor, Dark Demon, a supreme existence in the demon spirit world. Chi-La. The vast river water was suffused with strange black talisman markings as it rippled. A huge body formed by the black river water and talisman markings walked out of the river water. Its eyes seemed to contain the 9 hells world as it fought with the body of the sorcerer god formed by Du Xiaofu. Rumble. In such a great battle, the void was already covered by dark clouds, and there were abyss-like cracks in the sky. The surging power of the sorcerer god, the terrifying chi of the underworld, and the phantoms of gods and demons chanted in the sky. Huge waves of the nether river surged to the sky. The two fought fiercely, and the wind and thunder did not stop. It's also reincarnation nirvana. It's not much different from Yelu Han and Dugafenshin. Du Xiaofu's sorcerer god phantom was in the sky, and he understood the cultivation level of the nether demon. Although he only used the power of the sorcerer god and Taoist martial arts, his undying and indestructible level was real. With the help of his primordial spirit, it was enough to suppress the nether demon. The more the nether demon fought, the more shocked he became. This human seemed to be unfathomable, and he could not see his true strength. His strongest nether chi was enough to affect any living being. It could corrode the physical body and primordial spirit. It was impossible to resist. But the human in front of him was not affected at all. Rumble, huge waves appeared in the black nether hell river. 6 divine rings appeared in the sky. These divine rings were dazzling, and there was a black mist color. The heavenly music was endless, and the wind and clouds surged. Fight! The nether demon shouted and used the supreme power. He did not expect that the human in front of him could force him to use his full strength. The sorcerer god phantom was in the sky, and it was as if the ancient sorcerer god had descended. Du Xiaofu was not afraid of the supreme power. He stretched out his huge palm, causing the space in front of him to distort. As the wind and clouds surged, a huge handprint stretched out from the depths of the sky, covering the sky and crushing the nether demon. Rumble, the heavenly music exploded, and a vast and terrifying energy suddenly came from all directions. A huge pressure suddenly spread out, causing the space in the world to tremble. It was shocking. It was the undead spirit demon Dongfang Qingmu, Yelu Han, and Dugafenshin. The 3 of them had all used their supreme power. At this moment, a huge tree covered the sky. Its branches were luxuriant, and it stood 100 feet tall in the void. Every green leaf was covered in mysterious runes, and 6 divine rings shrouded it, shaking the void. Around the huge tree, a strange phenomenon appeared in the sky, forming a spatial storm. This spatial storm was full of vitality, as if it was the source of life. But once one got close, one's vitality would be devoured, causing one to wither. This was the undead tree, the main body of the undead spirit demon. Like its name, it was rumored that the undead tree was a strange existence in the world, and it was as famous as the undead grass. But everyone knew that the undead tree was much more terrifying than the undead grass. Moreover, this was the undead tree that had turned into a supreme nirvana. Swish, swish, the countless green leaves of the undead tree glowed, turning into sharp green swords that pierced through the void, sweeping towards Yelu Han and Dugafenshin. However, Dongfang Qingmu was terrifying, and he was the main body of the undead tree. But heavenly fiend Yelu Han and fire cloud evil god Dugafenshin weren't easy to deal with either. Although they couldn't do anything to Dongfang Qingmu, they weren't afraid of him. At this moment, Yelu Han and Dugafenshin joined forces. A scarlet flame river covered the sky, and a baleful aura sea covered the void, suppressing Dongfang Qingmu. 5 terrifying figures were fiercely fighting. Heavenly music resounded, supreme power surged, and strange phenomena appeared in the sky. Bang, 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 go! Above the black nether prison river, Du Xiaofu found an opportunity. The sorcerer god's phantom roared, and a hand's seal fell. The terrifying sorcerer god's energy was accompanied by a mysterious power, and it pressed down. It was as if the sun, moon, and stars were rotating, and all life in the world were being annihilated. Unable to use his full strength, Du Xiaofu could only use the ancient sorcerer god's power to the extreme. Wherever the hand's seal passed, the space shattered inch by inch, and the pitch-black spatial vortex was torn apart. In an instant, it fell on the huge body formed by the Nether River. Chapter 1946. On the undying tree, Dongfang Qingmu's human figure appeared, connected with the mysterious runes on the tree. 6 divine rings lit up the ancient space. In the Black Nether Hell River, the water of the Nether Demon's Black Nether Hell River also condensed into a huge body. Rumble, the entire desolate ancient space rumbled, causing the space to tremble as if it was going to collapse. Suddenly, Dongfang Qingmu and the Nether Demon's eyes narrowed. A huge sorcerer god's body appeared in the sky. You think you can trap us like this? You're overestimating yourself. This time, it was Dongfang Qingmu who spoke. His voice rippled, and the huge undying tree also shook, shining brightly. I didn't plan to trap you. Du Xiaofu looked at Dongfang Qingmu and the Nether Demon. Ancient sorcerer god's power rippled around him. He paused for a moment, smiled, and said to the two of them, "Now you have 2 choices. First, you 2 form an alliance with me in the Heavenly Devil battlefield." Ha! The Nether Demon laughed, and the Black Nether Hell River surged. His laughter shook the ancient space. Human, you think too highly of yourself. You don't have the right to form an alliance with us. Sigh. Du Xiaofu looked at the Nether Demon with regret. He sighed and said, "Then I can only feel sorry for you because the second choice is to kill you. You should have gained a lot in your Qiankuan pouches. Your bodies, the undying tree, and the Black Nether Hell River Soul Seed are all great treasures." Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Dongfang Qingmu and the Nether Demon's expressions turned ugly. He didn't plan to trap them at all. He wanted to kill them. You'll pay for your arrogance. Dongfang Qingmu was full of vitality, and the undying tree shone brightly. Its terrifying aura was even more powerful. Dongfang Qingmu was furious. His temper was definitely not as gentle as it looked. He was the undying tree. Even a saint would have a hard time killing him. But this guy was so arrogant that he didn't even take him seriously. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The Nether Demon roared angrily. Nether energy seemed to seep out from the 9 hells, causing one's soul to feel cold and palpitate. Do you want to attack? I'm warning you. If you make me attack again, I'll have no choice but to kill you, Du Xiaofu said to Nether Demon and Dongfang Qingmu earnestly. Facing such an arrogant fellow, the Nether Demon and Dongfang Qingmu looked at each other from afar. Their gazes met, and they reached a consensus. Rumble. The supreme power surged, and the black runes in the vast black underworld prison river rippled. The Nether Demon's eyes contained the power of the 9 underworlds, and it exploded towards Du Xiaofu's sorcerer god body. It was as if the gates of the 9 underworlds had been opened, making people's hair stand on end and their souls scatter. The undying wood erupted, green light rushing into the heavens. The branches and leaves seemed to have come alive, like green divine chains, the supreme being power surging. It was clearly a giant tree, but at this moment, it was majestic, like a god descending to the world. The Nether Demon and Dongfang Qingmu attacked at the same time, not daring to be careless. The mysterious guy in front of them was indeed unfathomable and strange. At this moment, they were pulled into this strange space, so they had no choice but to attack together. Come! At this moment, light exploded around Du Xiaofu's huge sorcerer god body, turning into an exceptionally bright divine ring. It exploded with brilliant light, like the sun rising from the east. Divine fire filled the sky, and a vast heavenly might spread out. The heavenly might was not like this. The supreme heavenly might from the Nether Demon and Dongfang Qingmu was powerful and vast, but it made the 6 divine rings of Dongfang Qingmu and the Nether Demon dim and extinguish. In an instant, the huge sorcerer god body was filled with divine light, and it was enveloped by a kind of divine light. It was extremely dazzling, and it gave people the feeling of the beginning of the world and the birth of all things. The surging aura was like a waterfall, surging and boiling, making people want to bow down and worship it. Break! The word break spread out like the sound of the heavens. Du Xiaofu attacked. The huge sorcerer god body swept out with his palm, and terrifying runes swept out. Then, as Dongfang Qingmu and the nether demon looked deathly still, their 6 divine rings shattered. The water of the black nether prison river was blasted away, and the divine chain-like branches and leaves of the undying tree were broken. Crackle! The undying wood and the black underworld prison river were exploding. The nether demon's shadow and Dongfang Qingmu's shadow were dumbfounded. Deep in their hearts, they were trembling. Only they knew that it was a terrifying power that they could not resist. It was above them and could crush them directly. That terrifying aura made them feel a sense of déjà vu. Du Xiaofu did not stop. The sorcerer god body stretched out his hand, and his 5 fingers curled slightly. The surroundings froze, and in an instant, a 3-legged cauldron appeared in his palm. The moment the 3-legged cauldron appeared, the surrounding space trembled, and purple electric arcs exploded. In the dazzling electric arcs, the 3-legged cauldron circled, and in an instant, it became hundreds of feet long. It circled above the void, and there was a rumbling sound of thunder and lightning. In an instant, purple electric arcs surged, and the frightening destructive power of thunder and lightning exploded in an instant. Divine Thunder Cauldron. This is the Divine Thunder Cauldron. The pupils of the nether demon's shattered body suddenly shrank and trembled. Back at the exit of the Divine Plane, he had seen Moksha and the Demon King Du Xiaofu use the Divine Thunder Cauldron at the same time. At this moment, the 3-legged purple lightning cauldron was definitely the Divine Thunder Cauldron. Moksha, no, you are the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Shiver. He felt that the terrifying aura was not like Moksha, but the Demon King Du Xiaofu. The unfathomable guy in front of him was most likely the Demon King Du Xiaofu, who had not been heard of recently. This is your choice. Just as Du Xiaofu's voice fell, the purple thunder profound cauldron rumbled, and the purple thunderclouds that occupied the sky churned. Arcs of lightning converged into purple thunderbolts that suddenly burst out, and the dazzling purple light of electric arcs poured down. Rumble. In an instant, the dense purple thunderbolts fell from the sky, and with an unparalleled destructive power, they fell on the undying tree and the black nether prison river. The earth-shattering purple thunderbolts bombarded, and the sharp sound of the explosion was continuous. This kind of destructive thunderbolts made people's hair stand on end. The black nether prison river exploded one after another, filled with purple electric arcs. The black runes were shattered, and the nether energy was destroyed. The undying tree exploded, and its branches and leaves were destroyed. It was scorched by the thunderbolts. This was the purple gold profound lightning from the purple thunder cauldron. As demon spirits, the nether demon and Dongfang Qingmu could not resist it at all, not to mention that Du Xiaofu was using the purple thunder cauldron with his current cultivation. Chapter 1947. Let's mind our own business. If you continue to be so overbearing, both of us will suffer great losses. Dongfang Qingmu opened his mouth. The entire tree was wrapped in purple lightning arcs, as if it had been dyed purple gold. However, at this moment, the green leaves and green runes were being destroyed. He and the nether demon were both demon spirits. If they self-destructed in the end, even if the other party was the Demon King Du Xiaofu, both of them would suffer great losses. No one under the Saint Realm would be able to survive their self-destruction. You can try to self-destruct. I have the Divine Thunder Cauldron. Do you think your self-destruction can affect me? Du Xiaofu replied like this. He was not moved at all. He controlled the bolts of purple gold lightning to bombard the black nether hell river and the undying tree. Human, even if you have the Divine Thunder Cauldron, you can't do anything to us. As long as our soul seeds don't die, you can't do anything. The nether demon roared. The vast black nether hell river was covered in lightning arcs, turning into a purple gold ocean. It was extremely shocking. Destroying your soul seeds shouldn't be difficult. Du Xiaofu's lips curled into a cold smile. With a thought, a silver gold light shot out from between his eyebrows. In an instant, the figure of a red-boned horse ape rushed out, releasing a violent destructive pressure. Silver gold lightning swept out, spreading across the void. Roar! The red-bone horse-ape roared. Its eyes seemed to contain two golden suns. Silver-gold light filled the air and poured out in all directions. Red-bone horse-ape primordial spirit, you are the demon king Du Xiaofu. At this moment, Dongfang Qingmu was 100% sure that the mysterious man holding the divine thunder cauldron in front of him could not be anyone else other than the demon king Du Xiaofu. Spiritual thunder, demon king Du Xiaofu. The nether demon's eyes trembled. He felt the aura of several kinds of spiritual thunder and was sure of the former's identity. It was the terrifying demon king Du Xiaofu. Rumble. The red-bone horse-ape stood in the void, and the terrifying silver-gold electric arcs poured down, making Dongfang Qingmu and the nether demon's soul seed fearful. Their soul seeds were very difficult to be destroyed, but if they were to encounter Du Xiaofu, then things would be different. This demon king could even fuse with the soul seed of spiritual thunder. Although your soul seeds are not spiritual lightning, I feel that if I fuse with your soul seeds, my primordial spirit will be strengthened significantly. The red-bone horse monkey spoke. Du Xiaofu's voice could be heard. His voice fluctuated along with the electric arcs, akin to the rumbling of thunder, exuding an imposing might. Du Xiaofu, what do you want? We've always minded our own business, Dongfang Qingmu said. The undying wood was trying its best to resist the purple gold profound bomb, but it was not very effective. This is your own choice. Moreover, now that you know my identity, do you think I'll let you go? Du Xiaofu said. The nether demon and Dongfang Qingmu's hearts trembled. They did not know that they had provoked the demon king, Du Xiaofu, this terrifying guy. At this moment, this demon king had deliberately concealed his identity, and he must be plotting something. Now that he was exposed in front of them, they were afraid that he would not leave them alive. The demon king, Du Xiaofu, was already infamous. He would not have any fear of killing them. Even if they self-destructed now, it would not have much effect on the demon king. Rumble. Thunder rumbled, and the purple-gold lightning wreaked havoc, destroying everything. It was impossible to resist. Du Xiaofu, I agree to form an alliance in the heavenly devil battlefield. The nether demon's shout came from the black nether hell river, which was surrounded by the purple-gold lightning. I'm also willing to form an alliance in the heavenly devil battlefield, Dongfang Qingmu said. Between being killed and forming an alliance, this was a matter that anyone would choose to settle. I can kill you all, so why should I form an alliance with you? I've exposed my identity, so it's safer to kill you all. Your soul seeds can strengthen me a lot. If you can leave a little of your original bodies, it'll be good enough, Du Xiaofu said. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the nether demon and Dongfang Qingmu's hearts were filled with despair. Indeed, the demon king, Du Xiaofu, could kill them directly. Why should they form an alliance with them? The other party was now eyeing their original bodies and soul seeds. Dongfang Qingmu, nether demon, this is your last chance. Join the barren country and become the barren country's protector envoy. You will guard the borders of the barren country, and all the beasts of the Imperial Beast Hall will be under me, just like Heavenly Wolf Gu Tianshao. You will be under me for 100 years. As Du Xiaofu spoke, lightning flashed in his eyes. Since his identity had been exposed, this was his bottom line. It was not as simple as forming an alliance in the heavenly devil battlefield. His aura became fierce, and even killing intent surged out. His cold voice continued, saying, "This is my bottom line, and it's not a disgrace to your identities. If you can't do it, then I don't mind killing you." Dongfang Qingmu and the nether demon felt the killing intent on Du Xiaofu's body, and they definitely knew Du Xiaofu's temper. They had already seen how cruel this demon king was. However, no matter how conflicted Dongfang Qingmu and the nether demon were, joining the barren country for 100 years was undoubtedly the same as submitting to the demon king, Du Xiaofu. However, both of them knew that the demon king had already decided to kill them. If they did not submit today, then only death awaited them. They had already lost. For 100 years, the barren country's protector envoy will be under one person. Is what you said true? The nether demon asked, feeling conflicted. The protector envoy of the Imperial Beast Hall, the protector envoy of the barren country's borders, will not be a disgrace to your identities. After 100 years, you will be free to come and go. Yes, Du Xiaofu said seriously. He looked at the heavenly wolf lonely sky howl and said, I respect your identities and will give you the choice. Actually, if I want to kill you, you definitely won't have the chance to self-destruct. If you don't believe me, you can try. Yes. Du Xiaofu was telling the truth. With the purple lightning profound cauldron and the origin spirit fused with 5 types of spiritual lightning, Dongfang Qingmu and the nether demon's chances of self-destructing were not high. Originally, Du Xiaofu wanted to form an alliance with the nether demon and Dongfang Qingmu not only in the heavenly devil battlefield, but now that things had come to this point, he might as well pull them into the barren country. The undead spirit demon, Dongfang Qingmu, and the dark hell emperor, nether demon, were supreme beings who had achieved nirvana. They were not inferior to the heavenly wolf lonely sky howl and the descendant of the great snow mountain, Lian Qingrong. If he pulled them into the barren country, they would definitely be of great help and could influence the world. Even if they could only stay for 100 years, they would benefit immensely. Although the undead wood and the dark hell river were their original bodies, their soul seeds should also be able to strengthen their origin spirits. However, with Dongfang Qingmu and the nether demon's talents, their futures were limitless. Du Xiaofu did not want to kill them until the last moment. It was undoubtedly the best choice to subdue them. As soon as he finished speaking, Du Xiaofu put away the purple lightning profound cauldron. The huge sorcerer god's body had also disappeared. The purple hair fluttering in the wind was transformed by the disguise divine technique. His face was calm and his eyes were deep. The red-bone horse monkey's origin spirit was beside him. Lightning flashed in his eyes and an invisible pressure filled the void. Chapter 1948. The purple gold lightning on the undying tree had dissipated. Although most of it was still full of vitality, the topmost layer was charred black and smoking. Crackle! Vitality fluctuated and green light filled the air. The charred layer of the undying tree miraculously recovered. Some of the charred branches and leaves recovered, while others fell off. Then the whole body shone with green light again. The branches and leaves were lush, and finally Dongfang Qingmu's human form was formed. However, Dongfang Qingmu's face was pale, and his hair was messy. He was in a sorry state, and his body rippled with a faintly discernible aura of thunder and lightning. The black underworld hell river rippled, and the black runes shattered. The dark energy was dispelled, and in the rippling light, nether demon walked out of the water. The black underworld hell river disappeared and gathered in his body. His hair was disheveled, and he was in a sorry state. The two stood in the ancient desolate space, looking at Du Xiaofu and his crimson horse monkey primordial spirit. They lowered their heads and looked at each other, their eyes twitching. After a while, Dongfang Qingmu and nether demon clenched their teeth and knelt on one knee. Greetings, Rock Emperor. Greetings. They knew the Demon King Du Xiaofu's title, and they knew they had no other choice. The Demon King in front of them definitely had the power to kill them. The Dark Hell Emperor, Nether Demon, and the Undead Spirit Demon, Dongfang Qingmu, 2 supreme nirvanas, had chosen to submit for 100 years. Moreover, the other party had taken care of their dignity, and was at least the barren country's guardian venerable envoys. The barren country had many supreme nirvanas, and they ruled the heavenly beast hall and guarded the barren country's borders. It was not too degrading. The two of them had submitted to him for 100 years, and in the end, they had completely collapsed. Du Xiaofu said that he was not afraid of their self-destruction at all. In fact, he could even make them self-destruct without giving them a chance to do so. Rise. Rise. Du Xiaofu smiled as he retracted the killing intent in his eyes. The Yuan Shin of the red-bone horse monkey transformed into a silver-gold electric arc and returned to his Naiwan palace. The smile on his face made him look like a completely different person. Yelu Han and Dugufenshin still don't know my identity. Pay attention and tell them that we have formed an alliance. Du Xiaofu said to Dongfang Qingmu and Ming Yao. He had used his full strength to bring them into the desolate ancient space because he didn't want Yelu Han and Dugufenshin to know his true identity. Outside the desolate ancient space, Yelu Han and Dugufenshin were guarding the desolate ancient space. Their faces were solemn as they wondered if that guy could handle Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon at the same time. Chi-chi. Not long after, space fluctuated, and misty light rippled. As the ancient and boundless energy fluctuated, three figures flashed out under the vigilant gazes of Dugufenshin and Yelu Han. It was Du Xiaofu, Dongfang Qingmu, and Nether Demon. Yelu Han and Dugufenshin could not help but become solemn when they saw Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon. Their auras immediately surged. There's no need to be nervous. We've already come to an agreement. Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon have decided to form an alliance with us. Du Xiaofu hurriedly signaled to the two of them. Alliance. Dugufenshin and Yelu Han looked at each other when they heard that. They immediately looked at Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon in surprise. Earlier, when the battle had reached such a state, those two fellows had not agreed to the alliance. However, what exactly did Fu Xiaodu say to those two fellows in the time treasure to make them actually agree to the alliance? Looking at Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon's miserable appearances and sensing their weak auras, Dugufenshin and Yelu Han's eyes flickered. It seemed that the three of them had definitely fought in the desolate ancient space. From the looks of it, Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon must have suffered a great loss. Otherwise, the two of them would not have agreed to the alliance so easily. Nether Demon glanced at Dugufenshin and Yelu Han with disdain and a sneer. It seemed that the two of them really didn't know the identity of the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. Nether Demon's heart ached for Yelu Han. It was rumored that Yelu Han had been tricked by the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, in the divine domain. As a result, the dragons, legalism, and school of vertical and horizontal had chased after Yelu Han. And now, this guy actually didn't know that the one who was with him every day was the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. Dongfang Qingmu didn't say anything, but his eyes dimmed a little. Let's go. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. The delay was getting longer and longer. The major forces and experts had already walked towards the main peak of the Heavenly Yu Mountain. Dongli Qingqing's whereabouts were still unknown. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but worry. Swoosh swoosh, Nether Demon and Dongfang Qingmu followed behind Du Xiaofu and left. Yelu Han and Dugufenshin looked at each other. The two troublesome fellows, Nether Demon and Dongfang Qingmu, had actually agreed to form an alliance. Yelu Han and Dugufenshin's expressions relaxed a little. With Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon joining the alliance, the five of them now had the power to contend against Du Xiaojing of legalism. With the five of them in an alliance, they didn't need to fear any force under the Saint Realm. The sea of trees was boundless, and the mountains were boundless. Along the way, Du Xiaofu had inquired about some news. The group of mysterious young people had attacked everywhere, and no one was a match for them. The heavenly treasures obtained by the major forces in the Heavenly Yu Mountain had also been taken away. But only once did the group of mysterious young men and women encounter legalism's Du Xiaojing. It was said that the leader of the group was defeated and left, never to appear again. Now, many experts and major forces had arrived at the main peak of the Heavenly Yu Mountain. It was rumored that the sacred medicine was on the main peak, but it was blocked by a seal. No one could enter, so the experts were obstructed. Go to the main peak. Du Xiaofu's expression turned serious. There was still no news about Dongli Qingqing. One day later, in the boundless Heavenly Yu Mountain range, mist rose from the mountain range in the distance. It was misty and hazy, emitting a dazzling light from afar. Rich energy fluctuations filled the void. On the mountains, there were figures flickering. Some people's eyes were shining as they looked at the incomparably huge mountain in front of them. It was like a towering giant towering between heaven and earth. There was a torrent of energy there, and mysterious green light and talisman runes intertwined. The mist filled the air as if chaos was surging. We can't break in. The seal is too strong. On the mountain, an old man's eyes widened as he watched nervously. The sacred medicine must be on the main peak. There's a torrent of energy there. Those mysterious young men and women have entered. There must be even more powerful experts there. Many figures flickered on the mountain peaks as they discussed in secret. Their eyes were red. In front of them was the main peak of the heavenly Yu Mountain, where the sacred medicine was. Whoosh 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 whoosh, 5 figures crossed the mountain peaks and landed in the void in front of them. The formless aura made the figures on the mountain peaks tremble. These 5 figures were 5 men. They were Du Xiaofu, Dugfenshin, Yelu Han, Dongfang Qingmu, and Nether Demon. Du Xiaofu's gaze fell on the front. His eyes narrowed as if he was sizing something up. His expression turned serious. But at this moment, there was a sudden commotion on the surrounding mountain peaks. Many people's eyes began to shine. Fire Cloud Evil God Dugfenshin, Heavenly Demon Yelu Han, Undead Spirit Demon Dongfang Qingmu, Dark Hell Emperor Nether Demon. A trembling voice rang out. The appearance of these 5 men made people's eyes tremble. They seemed to be walking together. Du Xiaofu was sizing up the huge mountain in front of him, which seemed to be in the midst of chaos. Suddenly, he felt a lot of cold gazes directed at him from behind. He raised his eyebrows and turned to look in the direction of those cold gazes. Dragons, famous clan, legalism. With a glance, Du Xiaofu saw the owners of those cold gazes. They were from the dragons, famous clan, legalism, demon vulture clan, fire demon lion clan, and so on. They were all old rivals. Are they all here? Seeing these old rivals, Du Xiaofu's eyes rippled. The leading old man of the famous clan, Hui Yuan, long heir of the dragons, Long Ming, the demon vulture clan's master realm expert, and the fire demon lion clan's master realm expert were all behind him. The eyes of the legalism's Han Ke also flashed with a cold glint. Du Xiaofu's gaze swept across these old rivals. Then, it landed on a beautiful woman beside Han Quebec. Her green dress fluttered along with her black hair. Her exquisite face revealed an otherworldly appearance. Her ethereal eyes stared at the main peak of the heavenly Yu Mountain towering in the mist in front of her. They were like stars twinkling in the sky. She stood quietly, graceful and exquisite. She was as otherworldly as a fairy. She was otherworldly. Xiaojing. Du Xiaofu called out in his heart. His younger sister, Xiaojing, was right in front of him. Not far away, the disciples of the Huang country, the people of the golden-winged Great Peng clan, as well as the Taoist, Confucian, Buddhist, and other familiar figures appeared in front of him. Huff. Taking a deep breath, Du Xiaofu's expression didn't change much. It seemed that there were many old rivals, but he didn't care too much about it. Yelu Han, Duvenshin, Nether Demon, Dongfang Qingmu, and the others had long sensed the cold gazes behind them. They all turned around and looked at each other from afar. At this moment, seeing Du Xiaofu, Nether Demon, and the others' gazes, Long Ming, Han Ke, and the others' expressions changed. I didn't expect it to be those guys again. Why are Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon with Yelu Han and the others? Han Ke stared at Yelu Han, Du Xiaofu, and the others, a cold light flashing in his eyes. How could he forget that the purple-haired man had destroyed his meridian spirit? If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't control Du Xiaojing, he would have let Du Xiaojing kill those 2 people to take revenge. Han Ke secretly gritted his teeth and couldn't help but glance at the beautiful woman beside him. This girl's growth was too terrifying. She was so fast that he couldn't control her anymore. It's those brats again. These guys have a lot of enemies. If there's a chance, I can deal with them directly. Ming Hui Yuan looked at Du Xiaofu and Yelu Han. His hands slightly clenched into fists under his long sleeves, killing intent surfacing on his face. Chapter 1949. Yuan. Sensing the fluctuation of energy from Hui Yuan's body, the leading elder of the famous family transmitted his voice to Hui Yuan. He looked at Hui Yuan without leaving a trace and said, Yelu Han, Fu Xiaodu, and Dugufenshin have many enemies. There's also the undead spirit demon Dongfang Qingmu and the Dark Hell Emperor Ming Yao. I don't know if the 2 of them are also with them. It's best that we don't interfere. Let's focus on business. I know. However, it seems that only the 3 of them and legalism have treasures. If there's a chance, we can act according to the situation. Hui Yuan replied. Although Fu Xiaodu had helped the famous family when he was questioned by Du Shaoqing in the desolate nation, Hui Yuan didn't feel any gratitude towards him. Yelu Han and Fu Xiaodu both had enemies such as legalism, dragons, school of vertical and horizontal, so the famous family didn't try to rope them in. Recently, Fu Xiaodu, Yelu Han, and Dugufenshin had joined forces. They were famous and had caused a storm in the heavenly Yu Mountain. Their reputation had long surpassed Hui Yuan's. He was the number one of the younger generation of the famous family. He was also a nirvana supremacy. However, he was being drowned out. He couldn't help but feel a little unhappy. Try not to get involved. It's best to wait and reap the benefits. The elder of the famous family transmitted his voice. Looking at the current atmosphere, it was possible that a great battle was about to happen. Although heavenly demon Yelu Han and the mysterious purple-haired man Fu Xiaodu had spoken for the famous family, they had offended legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. If the famous family tried to rope them in, they would undoubtedly become enemies with legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. At this moment, these people were offending more and more people. It was better for the famous family to stay away from this whirlpool. This was the main peak of the heavenly Yu Mountain. If these people could cause both sides to suffer, the famous family would undoubtedly benefit the most. Lian Qingrong stood at the peak of the famous clan's formation. 8 maidservants stood behind her. Her white battle robes were spotless, and her clear eyes were looking at the purple-haired man among the 5 figures in the void in front of her. No one noticed that there was a ripple in her eyes that flashed past without leaving a trace. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's eyes twitched as he stood in the sky. After which, he once again looked at the enormous main peak of the heavenly Yu Mountain behind him. That place was shrouded in primal chaos, and one's mind couldn't pry into it. The inside was hazy and impossible to pry into. This time, you won't be able to escape. Suddenly, a loud shout rang out. The voice was ethereal yet powerful. The sound waves contained the roar of a dragon, and the might of a dragon suffused the air and shook the void. On the surrounding mountain peaks, the creatures with weaker cultivation bases were also trembling inwardly when they heard this voice, their souls rippling. Rumble. The space trembled like the rumbling of wind and thunder. Along with the shout that contained the might of a dragon, no less than 300 figures flew out from the surrounding mountains. Waves of vast auras swept through the sky. Boom, waves of powerful auras swept out and covered the surroundings. At the front of this group of powerhouses, a tall and sturdy man about 30 years old walked out. His deep and fair face had a sharp curve to it. He was Long Air. Back then, he had attacked Yelu Han's group, but in the end, he had been swaggered off. This was a thorn in his heart that he couldn't let go. Now that he saw them again, how could he let them go? It's Long Air. Is he going to attack? As Long Air walked out, the expressions of the Taoist, Confucian, Buddhist, desolate country, and other major forces on the surrounding mountains changed slightly. The news of Long Air's failure to besiege Yelu Han's group had long spread. Demon Vulture Clan, Fire Red Demon Lion Clan, Heavenly Snake Clan. Looking at the figures around him, Yelu Han's eyes twitched slightly. How could he not be familiar with these people? They were all from the Fire Red Demon Lion Clan that he had fought fiercely with not long ago. With a deep snort, Dufenshin's eyes turned red. Back then, he had been suppressed and had retreated, but now, he had broken through again. He wanted to settle the score with these fellows. They had come at the right time. Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon glanced at Long Air and the others, but their expressions didn't change much. Looking at Long Air and the others, Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon knew the reason. They had already heard of the reason. It was the trouble caused by the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, Yelu Han, and Dugufenshin. Although Long Air and the others had many experts, including several main domain realm cultivators and many domain realm cultivators, Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon didn't take them to heart. Not to mention that the 5 of them were enough to deal with them. Once the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, revealed his identity, it would be enough to kill them all. Not to mention, Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon had already seen many sovereigns of the desolate country on a mountain peak not far away. There were also the terrifying experts of the Golden Rock clan. Once the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, revealed his identity, Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon knew what would happen to Long Air and the others. Therefore, looking at Long Air and the experts of the Fire Demon Lion and Demon Vulture clan, Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon could only sympathize with them. Yellow Han, you're dead this time, Long Ming said. He had been severely injured by Yellow Han, and his dragon horn had been broken. How could he let such a grudge go? You think you can? Yellow Han sneered. Back then, he had been surrounded and suppressed, but now, it was different. Hearing this, Long Ming looked at the two people beside Yellow Han, the undead spirit demon Dongfang Qingmu and the Dark Hell Emperor, Nether Demon. How could he not recognize them? They were absolutely terrifying. Now that Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon were here, it was really difficult to deal with them. Dongfang Qingmu, Nether Demon, long time no see. Long Ming's expression was gloomy, and these words came out of Long Air's mouth. It's been a long time, 3,000 years, Dongfang Qingmu said, his eyes calm. Nether Demon looked at Long Air and didn't say anything, but there was a fluctuation in his eyes. 3,000 years ago, he had seen Long Air. This is a grudge between us dragons and them, it has nothing to do with you. Long Air looked at Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon. If Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon were really with Yellow Han's group, it would be really difficult to deal with them. Your grudge has nothing to do with me, but if you want to fight, I'm willing to accompany you. But you, Long Air, aren't enough. Let Long Yi do it. Nether Demon said, his eyes under his hood turning dark red. Han Kei of the School of Legalism, Huiyuan of the School of Famed Scholars, and the other members of the School of Famed Scholars all paled. The undead spirit demon Dongfang Qingmu and the Dark Hell Emperor, Nether Demon, were really with Yellow Han's third brother, the Sovereign. With 5 sovereigns like this, there was probably no force present that could fight against them alone. This was the main peak of the Heavenly Yu Mountain. With 5 sovereigns like this together, they were definitely a threat to everyone. It's been 3,000 years, but you seem to have only reached the Nirvana reincarnation realm. It seems that you have been sealed for 3,000 years, but you didn't gain anything in the Sovereign Tomb. Don't make a mistake again. Long Air's voice was ethereal, but now there was a hint of coldness in it, a warning. 3,000 years ago, Long Air's cultivation was indeed inferior to Nether Demon and Dongfang Qingmu. At that time, Long Yi and Dongfang Qingmu were equally famous, and he was only following behind his big brother, Long Yi. But now, he had already surpassed Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon. Are you threatening me? Dongfang Qingmu said. Green light shot out from his eyes, filled with vitality. His calm voice was filled with absolute coldness. The seemingly gentle Dongfang Qingmu had a bad temper, even worse than Nether Demon and Yellow Han's. Dongfang Qingmu wasn't afraid of Long Air. Boom! Nether Demon didn't say anything else, and the dark energy surging out of his body showed his stance. Yellow Han and Dugafenshin's aura also surged, shaking the void. A great battle was about to break out. This is a personal grudge, and it has nothing to do with you two. Let me deal with it myself. Du Xiaofu finally turned his head from the misty main peak. His expression was still calm as he said to Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon, you two are still injured, so I don't need you to intervene. Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon looked at Long Air and the others, then looked at Du Xiaofu. His calm expression had a hint of coldness. They smiled coldly at Long Air and the others, then retreated without hesitation. Yellow Han and Dugafenshin were surprised that Du Xiaofu asked Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon to retreat, but they felt that Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon's injuries were too heavy, so Du Xiaofu didn't need them to intervene. After all, the 3 of them were enough to deal with them. That guy is really arrogant. Many people looked at each other when they saw that Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon had really retreated to the side. Facing Long Air and the other experts, Fu Xiaodu didn't need Dongfang Qingmu and Nether Demon's help. How arrogant was he? Even Long Air was surprised, but then his eyes turned cold. This was a humiliation to him, and it was obvious that Fu Xiaodu didn't put him in his eyes. You won't be able to escape today. Long Air looked at Du Xiaofu with a gloomy face. That day, he carelessly allowed Fu Xiaodu to set up a talisman array and retreat, which made him a laughingstock in the heavenly Yu Mountain. Today, he was going to wash away all of this. You're not enough, Du Xiaofu replied to Long Air. His eyes swept over the surrounding forces such as the fiery demon lion clan, the demon vulture clan, the heavenly snake clan, and the other forces, as well as the wild bear domain master and the other experts. The number of people who had besieged them had increased by a lot. It seemed that these people had roped in many forces to join them. Is it just you guys? But I'm afraid you won't be able to get back these heavenly treasures with just you guys. Du Xiaofu said indifferently. Suddenly, a large amount of multicolored light shot up into the sky from his hand. Energy gushed out, and rays of light shot up into the sky. Amidst the multicolored light, a strange golden lotus bloomed. It was the size of a baby, and 3 golden lotuses bloomed with their backs against each other. The talisman patterns on the petals fluctuated in an intricate manner like meridians. Golden light flowed, releasing a dazzling brilliance that illuminated the void. A gorgeous flower appeared, filled with majestic energy. Waves of energy flowed through it, like the morning sun. A dark green spirit fruit appeared. Energy fluctuated, mist filled the air, and talisman patterns flickered. Many heavenly treasures appeared together. Energy gathered and surged, and multicolored light illuminated the sky. Chapter 1950. Swoosh swoosh, heavens, that's the triple golden lotus. Clear spirit fruit, that must be the legendary clear spirit fruit. The endless sky sacred flower. Rumor has it that it can protect one's soul and help one become a saint. The entire place was in an uproar. Countless gazes were burning with passion. Even the experts from the Taoist, Confucian, Buddhist, and Desolate Nation were trembling. The triple golden lotus, clear spirit fruit, endless sky sacred flower, and so on. Any one of them was a treasure among treasures. Moreover, there were so many treasures. This place was a treasure trove. After all, the treasures they had obtained in the heavenly Yu Mountain had already been taken by the mysterious group of young men and women. Now that they saw so many treasures, it was easy to imagine the fervor in their hearts. However, the expressions of the Fire Red Lion clan's master, the Raging Bear region lord, and the others were extremely gloomy. Their eyes were about to spit fire. The triple golden lotus, endless sky sacred flower, and so on had been taken by Yelu Han's group right under their noses. Heavens! The surrounding space trembled as bright lights shot into the sky. No one present wouldn't be tempted by such a huge pile of treasures. So many treasures! Hui Yuan's eyes trembled, and a burning passion surged from within. Hui Yuan hadn't heard that the mysterious group of young men and women had robbed the trio. He guessed that they had many treasures on them. After all, the 3 of them had robbed quite a lot from others. However, Hui Yuan hadn't expected that the 3 of them would have so many treasures on them. This was too shocking. That guy is really arrogant. On a mountain peak, an old man with white eyebrows and a beard looked at the pair of heavenly treasures that were shrouded in multicolored light. His eyes were suffused with some golden light, and he looked domineering and disdainful. Second elder, third elder, the enemies of the dragons, should we lend a hand when the time comes? A young man in a wide yellow robe with gold trimmings spoke. He stood quietly on the mountain peak, looking extraordinarily handsome and charming. His eyes intentionally glanced at Du Xiaofu, giving off an invisible and domineering aura. He was Jialo Jueyu. Strictly speaking, he was the leader of the golden-winged great rocks. He could use this opportunity to attack the dragons. Let's wait and see. That little guy seems to be very confident. Jialo Zhiheng spoke, his gaze landing on Long Air's body. The dragons and the golden-winged rocks were mortal enemies, but they didn't make a move at this moment. After all, they were of the older generation. Although the golden-winged rocks and the dragons were mortal enemies, it wasn't appropriate for the elders to deal with the younger generation. This was the tacit understanding between the golden-winged rocks and the dragons. If any of the clans broke this tacit understanding, it would definitely be the day when the 2 clans would fight to the death. That guy seems to be between the barren country and the legalism dragons. Let's wait and see. But he is really arrogant. Jialo Guanyu said. He looked ahead and sized it up with interest. Does Long Air want to make a move now? In the barren country's lineup, the sacred array child Jin Qingchun, Sirius Gu Tianxiao, Du Shaoqing, Little Tiger Du, Yi Piaoling and the others were also looking forward with interest. With the character of the barren country's people, it was naturally impossible for them not to be tempted by the huge pile of treasures. However, at this moment, no one in the barren country made a move. With the dragons around, they were happy to watch the show. Treasures of heaven and earth belong to those who are fated to get them. You guys are just not fated to get them. With a huge pile of treasures of heaven and earth in front of him, any one of them was enough to cause a stir in the outside world. However, Du Xiaofu was not affected at all. He was not afraid of causing a fight between the four clans. Floating in the void, his eyes slowly swept across the surrounding mountain peaks. His voice was mixed with Xian Qi and resounded in all directions. He said, "The treasures of heaven and earth are in my hands. If there's anything else you want, why don't you come with the dragons? If you have the ability, take them away." Arrogant, too arrogant. Who is that Fu Xiaodou? How can he be so arrogant? He is looking down on all the major clans. He is too arrogant. When Du Xiaofu's words were heard, the surroundings were in an uproar. Some people who were not afraid of making a big deal out of it did not hide their voices. They deliberately resounded in the void and landed in the midst of the major clans' lineup. The expressions of many experts from the Taoist, barren country, Confucian, Buddhist, and other major clans changed. That mysterious man was not an ordinary kind of arrogant. In the legalism lineup, Du Xiaojing's gaze had unknowingly retracted from the misty main peak of the heavenly Yu mountain and quietly landed on Du Xiaofu's body. His starry eyes were so calm that there were no ripples. He naturally had an otherworldly temperament. Han Ju's eyes twitched. His gaze was fixed on the dazzling triple golden lotus in front of Du Xiaofu. His pupils contracted. His meridian spirit had been destroyed. If he could obtain the triple golden lotus, he would have a chance to reunite it. The triple golden lotus did not exist in the legalism, and there were no traces of it in the outside world. It had long become a legend. "Kid, you are too arrogant. You snatched the treasures of all living beings. Do you look down on all living beings? You should pay the price." Han Ju's gaze darkened as he walked out with a cold smile. He had no intention of letting Fu Xiaofu go. This was the perfect opportunity. As Han Ju walked out, many legalism experts followed behind him. Only a few stayed by Du Xiaojing's side. Ripples finally appeared in Du Xiaojing's eyes, but he did not say anything. He continued to stand quietly on the mountain peak, as if none of this had anything to do with him. His ink-black hair flowed freely, and his aura was still as extraordinary and arrogant as ever. Legalism has also joined the fray. Han Ju is clearly trying to get his hands on those heavenly treasures. Not many people were surprised by the addition of legalism. It was all within their expectations. Han Ju had been severely injured by the mysterious Fu Xiaofu. He already had a deep grudge against him. Legalism and Du Xiaojing were present at this moment. It would be strange if legalism did not want a share of the pie. He is indeed too arrogant. Just as these thoughts flashed through the minds of the surrounding living beings, another soul-shaking voice suddenly rang out. "A famous expert." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw someone walk out from the famous expert's lineup. His figure was rather arrogant and extraordinary. It was a young man in a long robe. His face was well-defined, and the corners of his mouth curled into a smile that did not allow for provocation. He was Hui Yuan. On his well-defined face, his blazing eyes retracted from the pair of heavenly treasures in front of Du Xiaofu with a cold smile. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.